How many times do you date a man and wish you would have known the truth about who he really is a lot sooner? Isn't it frustrating to feel like that man strategically hid from you his true colors until after you got way too attached to him? Well, what if I told you there's a strategy to be able to get a man to reveal to you who he really is before you even start dating him? Which is why on today's show, we're going to be discussing every question you should ask a man before you begin dating him. That way, you're never again blindsided by the person he's been pretending to be this entire time. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here presence that I know you're here present and actively participating, right? So we have our first question here. Now, so we're going to say, what is the question? And we're also going to have different categories here. So I'm going to put down some stuff and you'll see why I say this, each one of these. Okay, so the way we're going to do this today is with each question that I give you guys, we're also going to state the reason for asking that question, because it's very important that you understand why you're even asking the question, right? You don't just want to be a parrot repeating back what I told you to say. We also want to make sure that in the process of you asking this question, you know what answer you're looking for or the key elements of his answer that you need to be paying attention to. Because with each and every question and subsequently each and every answer, you want to actually understand how this affects the future of your relationship, if there even is a possibility of being in a relationship. Do you understand what I mean? Okay. Now, let's start off with our first question here. Now, I'm going to abbreviate the questions here, so you do have to be listening to me if you want it to be like exactly how you're going to say it, but you'll get the gist of what we're talking about, okay? So, our first question here, I'll write it down. All right. There we go. There's going to be a lot of writing on today's lesson. All right. First question. What are key experiences that made you who you are today? Okay. That's the first question. Now, I'll warn you, each and every question that we're going to do on today's show, they're going to get a little bit more and more intimate as time goes on, right? So these are all questions that will be, I guess we can say, what is going on my, hold on here. Hold on. TikTok having some issues. Let me restart the TikTok chat. Don't you all worry. We gonna restart this and we're going to be good. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, as it relates to our first question here, right? Like I said, what I want you to understand is each question has a purpose. So you don't just want to be repeating this like a parrot. And each question is going to get a little bit more and more intimate as time goes on. So you have to be aware that these top of the line questions will be easier to say on a first date at the beginning to introduce yourself and just get the conversation flowing. Then as we go deeper and deeper into the questions, you'll see some of these might not just be appropriate for the very beginning of the show, very beginning of the date, right? Because they're a little bit more intimate. Now, with what are the key experiences that made you who you are today? I'm going to help you understand what you're actually trying to get here, okay? Now, let's see how we can, I want to write an abbreviation version of this, right? So what you're trying to look for when you're asking this first question is you want to understand, why will he act certain ways? See, when you ask this question, guys are going to answer it, hopefully, answer it by letting you know impactful moments of their life, okay? Whether that be impactful moments as it relates to relationships, whether it be impactful moments as it relates to their family members, or impactful moments as it relates to their work life, okay? I want you to sit back, relax, and let him explain to you what he considers to be impactful moments. Because what you're going to realize here in the process of him telling you all of these impactful moments is he'll start to tell you how things have shaped him, whether it be traumatic experiences or great experiences in his life. Now, when it comes to what I want you to be looking for, right? I want you to be asking yourself this kind of question, right? When he's answering the question for you, I want you to be asking yourself, how does this impact him now and the person that he is now and the type of partner he will be? Because like I said, in terms of the reasoning, you want to make a connection to kind of see to yourself, okay, these particular responses he's going to be giving me on a regular basis, not because I'm a bad person or because it's an isolated situation, but because of these key impactful parts of his life that have really changed his viewpoint or changed his perspective. I'll give you an example of exactly what I mean by that. An example of that could be, let's say you are on a date with a guy who's been cheated on, okay, right? I restarted the live on TikTok for those of you who are confused, okay? Let's say you're with a guy who's been cheated on, and he tells you one of the most impactful parts of, life for him was experiencing the first time where he realized that his girlfriend of the past 2 years had been cheating on him. And realizing that was a really painful experience that made him, think really deeply and reconsider everything about what love is and what a relationship is, okay? Let's say that, for example, is his experience. Now, is that working right? TikTok Live's working right now. Should be. We shouldn't have any issues, correct? Let me know in the TikTok chat if you guys are having issues still. Okay, so the reason I say this, right, is because when you now ask him this question and you say, let's say, for example, that he has been cheated on by his partner for the past 2 years and he found that out, now you have an understanding where he might say, this impacted me by now in my relationships, I'm a little bit more careful. Now in my relationships, I'm a little bit less trustworthy of people or trustworthy of my partner, even if my partner is not necessarily doing anything wrong or doing anything shady or inappropriate. Just because of that really impactful experience, I now have a little bit of a different way of approaching my relationships. The reason that this might help you is because now when you're dealing with this guy, you have a better understanding of what he's been through. So you have a better understanding of how to deal with him in a way that might work or may not work. But also when you do see some of these, I guess we can say some of the outcomes of this experience and how it impacted him, for example, the cheating, when you see how that actually affects your relationship in terms of his non-trusting of you, even when you're not doing anything, rather than you saying, oh, you're saying I'm not trustworthy because you think I'm a bad person, but I didn't do anything, and you think it's about you, you'll actually realize it's not about me, it's about the experience you've had in your past experiences and how those experiences have impacted you. So it leads you to a better understanding of that man, which is always, always good, okay? Now, let's get to our second question. We told you we got lots of questions and I gotta explain them all to you, all right? So we'll do it like this. I don't even think I need to delete that part. Let me see if I could do it like this. So here, I'll erase this. And I'll put question 2. Okay. Now, this question here, we'll do it like that. I don't even have to erase that part. We could do this. Raise in and look for right here. Okay. So, our next question, I'm going to abbreviate it here. Okay, and I'm going to write the reasoning down so you'll see what I mean. All right. Okay, so what I want you to understand, question number 2, what you're going to ask him is, what do you think is a really big misconception about you that a lot of people have before actually meeting you? Okay. Now, the reason I want you to ask this question, very, very important question, is because I want you to gauge his ability to be self-aware, right? What you're looking for here is self-awareness. Now, self-awareness in what sense? You want to see if he's able to understand the difference between his outward perception and the reality of his character. Because someone who can understand the difference between those is more likely going to be able to be empathetic to other perspectives outside of their own. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say you ask a guy this question and his response is, yeah, one of the really big misconceptions about me is that people think often I'm a really serious guy because I come to work and I'm really about business and I'm very straightforward, and the way that I go about things, people think I'm like super box square serious and I never tell jokes. But in reality, when people actually meet me and they get to know me, I'm actually one of the biggest jokesters ever. I love to have fun. I love to laugh. I love dark humor, and all that other stuff, right? But people don't know that about me when they first meet me, right? This is a great example of someone understanding the reality of who they are as a person versus how they're perceived, but also being able to put themselves in other people's shoes and maybe see reasonings as to why they are perceived that way. Okay, there's nothing wrong with there being a little bit of a difference between the perception that of him that other people have versus the reality, but being able to recognize that will tell you a lot about his self-awareness. Vice versa, someone who lacks a lot of self-awareness and lacks the understanding of how they're perceived versus the reality of who they are would probably say something like, oh, I don't know what a big misconception would be. I am who I am, and I don't understand how anyone could see it any differently, right? Let's say he answered it like that, or it was just like, I really don't know what people's misconceptions of me are, right? It kind of speaks to a little bit of lack of self-awareness, because what you should be able to do, if you're someone who can put yourself in other people's shoes, you should be able to see, at least from their perspective, what you're outputting. Of course, no one's going to know your heart and know your soul, but if you can be more aware of what you're outputting, that at least means that when other people approach you or treat you based on the energy that you output, you're understanding of why they perceive you that way, right? That understanding also links to, I should say, more commonly having empathy. Now, obviously, it's not going to be one-to-one, but if someone can have empathy, that's also going to stem from being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, okay? Does that make sense? I love you, okay? Someone says, what was question number 1? If you're missing any of the questions, just go over to, if you're watching this on TikTok, go over to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just above my head. You can just type in my name, Tomisin, Tomisin, and then you can find it there, okay? Now, because I'm live on YouTube at the same time as TikTok, okay, for those of you who didn't know. Question number 3. We have lots of questions to go through, chat. I can't slow down. I can't slow down. All right, question number 3. Very, very important. All these questions, I told you the questions are going to get deeper as we go. So be prepared to get deep here. All right. Question, reason, and what to look for. Okay. I probably don't need to rewrite these every time. Question number 3. Oh, this is a great one. I love this one. I love asking people in general this question. Okay. And then we'll put down the reason. And then I'll also put down what I want you to look for. Okay. Let me see here. All right. I'm going to abbreviate what I mean by all these, but I'll explain, okay? So, question number 3, right? I want you to ask him, if you were to actually meet your younger self, do you think your younger self, meeting current you now, would be proud of who you became? Or do you think they would be a little bit disappointed with who you became? I told you these questions are going to get deeper and deeper as time goes on, right? Because I want you to be asking some of these in-depth questions. They're going to give you a lot of context clues about this man, all right? The reason I want you to answer or ask him this question, I want you to get a sense of what level has he reached or accomplished a lot of the things that he wanted to become as a young boy. Now, I know Obviously, when we're young kids, we're a little bit delusional, meaning like we have in our mind, oh, I want to be president of the United States. I want to be an astronaut, right? And some of the things that we might want as a young child might not necessarily be the same things that we want as an adult. But however, even in a pivot, even if you're not the president of the United States and you're doing something a little bit different, it's very important to ask this man and get a sense of if he feels like that younger version of him would even at all be proud with who he has become as an adult, what he represents as an adult, the type of job he works as an adult, who he is as a person. Because what I want you to be looking for, I want you to be looking for signs of disappointment with where he is in his life right now. See, if a man knows, because this is something that might sound very weird and strange to you, because maybe you think a little bit differently. But for men, their sense of purpose and feeling like they've accomplished something and reached their goals is actually the difference between happiness and depression for a lot of men, basically all men, right? We're wired that way. So the reason I say this is because you really need to make sure that the guy you're exploring dating has a sense of accomplishments as it relates to himself, and feels like even if he's not completely where he needs to be, that he's at least on the path there and he's proud of the things he's accomplished so far. Because if younger him would be proud of the things he's accomplished so far, then that means when he sets goals, for the most part, he's reaching those goals. And in the process of reaching those goals, he's now accumulated a lot of accomplishments that he and his younger self can actually be proud of. Vice versa, if a man has been lazy with his goals, meaning he might say he wants to do things and never ends up doing it. All of those goals over the course of time that he set for himself and said he wanted to do and said he was going to do, but never ended up doing, will pile up slowly over the course of time. And as they continue to pile up, he'll eventually look back on all the things he's not accomplished and feel like he's behind, so to speak. So then when he thinks of his younger self, and his younger self looking up and seeing who he has become now, he'll actually be able to see all of the ways he's fallen short in the past, right? And up until this point, in a way that accumulates itself to being like a disappointment, right? When you look at someone's lifespan, you look at what they've had time to accomplish, you look at their potential, and you're very disappointed with what they've actually accomplished. I love this question because for men, they're so purpose-driven that there really is only going to be one answer or another. And trust me, I love having these questions. And for those of you who are even going to start, don't even type it in the chat. Any of you who typed it in the chat, or anyone who types it in the chat after this, you answer them what I'm going to tell you right now. Anyone asking me, can I ask these questions over the phone? Can I text him these questions? What if I'm in a long distance? No. My answer is always no, okay? All of these questions from start to finish are for in-person only. The reason for that is I want you to feel his energy and I want you to see his face and see his body language when he answers these questions, right? Questions like this, especially when you start getting more and more intimate, I need you to get all the context you can when he answers this question, because some men, when you ask questions that are this deep, it's very unexpected. And if men aren't preparing, trust me. They prepare some answers for you when they go on a date with you. They don't prepare themselves for questions like these. So when you're asking these questions, if a man hasn't thought about this beforehand, right, which most of them wouldn't have, and this question makes him quite uncomfortable because he knows the true answer to it, you'll see the discomfort on his face. The discomfort on his face will also give you a lot of context clues as to what the real answer is. So even if a man attempts to lie to you in the moment, he's going to have to be thinking on his feet because he didn't prepare himself for a question this intimate. And then as he's thinking on his feet, he'll be, I don't know, me and, it's just the thing. Why are you even asking questions like this? This is not even first date, right? Anytime, key for any of you, anytime we're going through these questions and let's say you do ask them on a date and a man starts to avoid by saying, hey, why are you asking questions? These are a little bit deep for a first date. You know you've got him. You've got him because he starts realizing that, oh my gosh, I'm going to reveal some things about myself that I know are going to make me look bad or I don't want to actually reveal, right? That's why they're trying to avoid going to these places. So just keep that in mind, right? Context is so important. Information is so important. And you won't be able to get the right context if you're typing out these questions texting them to him and allowing him to like really think and ponder on his answer and what the best answer will be. The other thing is, when you ask these questions in person that he can't use ChatGPT. People are using ChatGPT nowadays to answer your questions. I hope you know when you're texting people, you might not even actually be texting the actual human being, okay? Now, this is another one I love, okay? I really like this one. Oop. So write that. We'll just leave the question mark out of this. Now, let me put the reason here. This one's a good one, and I'm going to explain to you why this one's so good. Okay. All right, lots of writing with this in this show. Now, this question, I like this one a lot. How many people can you call on if you're in an emergency, in a pickle, in a bind? And I also subsequently want you to ask, who are those people? This is a great, great question. Because if you've watched any of my previous shows, you know that I always tell you, one of the clear signs that a man is serious or unserious about you is if you begin to meet his inner circle, i.e. his family and his friends. Now, for each man that you meet, there's going to be different people in his life that are the most important people to him. Those people also hold the most weight in terms of their opinion. For example, a man might say, oh my gosh, for sure, if I was in a pickle or a bind, I know that I can call on my mom and my mom will be there for me no matter what. If she's at work, if she's across the country, if she's on a boat, if she's on a picnic, she'll come and she'll help me out with anything. I can trust her to help me with anything. Even if I unalive someone, she's coming to help me, okay? Now, the reason I'm saying this is because that same person that he would call on in an emergency in a pickle is going to be on the inner circle. Meaning that same mom that he's saying he's so close with would come and help him with anything. That person is someone that if you haven't yet met, or he hasn't even discussed the idea of you meeting her, now you know you haven't yet actually penetrated his inner circle, which means you might not be as important to him as you're imagining. This can tell you a lot about how much of a priority you are, how serious he is about you, because this inner circle is the people that it really matters that you meet. For some men, right, this inner circle might consist of, oh, one of my boys, I grew up with him. Me and him, we go back to the sandbox. Like, he helps me with everything. I help him with everything. He's not my blood brother, but he's like my blood brother, So if I'm ever in a jam, if I'm ever in a pickle, I know he'll get me out of it, right? And I also want you to get that person's name. Even if this is a first date, this is information that you can bank in your mind. Even though it's a first date, I want you to bank in your mind, who is that person? What is your relationship to him? And the fact that this person is on the inner circle. Now, as you've banked that information, you can be waiting to see how close or far am I away from meeting that person? Have I already met that person? Have we been dating for 6 or 7 months and I haven't even sniffed that person before, or haven't even gotten close to having a conversation with that person? Because the reality of it is, if he cares about you and he's serious about building with you, and he hasn't introduced you to this person or those people that he would call in an emergency, he doesn't care about you as much as you're imagining he cares about you. That's just the reality, okay? So this is a great way to gauge that, to understand who those people are without necessarily asking him, can you introduce me to your family? Because that's the tricky part. He could introduce you to his brother, who he never speaks to. He could introduce you to his sister, who he's not close with at all. But the person in his family who he's the closest with, maybe he doesn't introduce you to, or vice versa, right? He might have a lot closer friendships that are like family and introduce you to the family, but not those inner friendships, which would be kind of weird, but I've seen it before. right? So very important thing to gauge, and this is how you gauge that with that type of question, okay? Let's hop into our next question here. I won't even erase these for this one. Okay, make this nice and neat here. Question number 5. We got lots of questions. Alrighty. Question 5. Ooh, I love this one. Now, there's a lot of depth to this. I'm going to explain it. I'm just going to abbreviate it for now, okay? Now, okay, question number 5. I want you to ask him, do you like where you work? Sounds simple, right? I also want you to ask, if you don't like where you work, where would you rather be working and what would you rather be doing, right? The reason I want you to ask this question, even though it seems very simple and actually not very invasive or intimate, you're getting some very, very important answers here, especially for a man. You need to gauge the level of satisfaction a man has within his own life. Men who are very frustrated or unsatisfied, actually it's not unsatisfied, dissatisfied with their current situation in their life, that's actually not a problem. However, if they don't have a course of action or a plan in which they're actually implementing to change that dissatisfaction in their life, now we have a problem. Because I want you to be looking for frustration within this man's life and dissatisfaction within this man's life, but you also need to be paying attention to if he has a strategy in place that is actually working or he's working towards to change that. So when you ask him, do you like where you work? There's nothing wrong with him saying, I don't like where I work. But if his answer is, you know what, to be honest with you, I'm not really that fond of where I work, you know. I've always wanted to be a chef and, you know, own my own restaurant, but, you know, things happen and I'm just kind of doing odd jobs and I'm not really there yet, right? If you ask a man what he wants to be doing and he tells you he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing right now, but then he also tells you that, yeah, I don't really know if I'm going to make a change, and even if I do make a change, I don't know what type of change I'll make, I'm just very undecided, that's a man I don't even want you to explore a relationship with. Because I promise you, that same approach to just being in a limbo phase will directly translate to the way he approaches his relationship with you. Nothing wrong with identifying he doesn't want to be doing something, but he should identify what he wants to do instead, and he should take steps towards that. See, men do this thing, a lot of men honestly, do this thing, where even though they can identify they're not truly happy, they don't necessarily know why they're not truly happy, and then they don't take actions towards happiness. They just stay in a constant state of unsatisfaction, dissatisfaction, and unhappiness without actually making a move in any one direction. Then you want to know what happens. They grow to be 50 years old. They wake up one day and then they have what we describe as a midlife crisis, where they realize their entire life has been wasted doing things that they didn't really want to do. And finally, when they become 50 years old, they come to this big realization that they now have to spend the next 50 years of their life before they pass away doing all the things that they actually want to do that they never got a chance to do as a young adult or a young man. This is a problem for you. Because now when he wakes up and he realizes, yeah, you know, I was dating you and it was a vibe kind of for a little bit, but you're not really the type of girl I want to be with. I've always wanted to be with a blonde and I've always wanted to be with a Polish girl and I've never got it. Like all of this stuff, that same limbo, you will be shocked at how many men will even get into relationships with that same limbo mindset where they're not sure if they really want you for you and if you're the type of woman they want to be with, but they're also not sure if they should break up with you or not be with you because they don't know exactly what they want. Limbo states are horrible. Men who apply this to their life, like their work and their career, will apply this to their relationship. Stay far away from limbo state men, okay? Let's hop into our next question here. Question number 6. Are we on the same page so far, chat? I know there's a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of you are probably screenshotting, writing things down because you're ready to ask these questions on your next day. It's okay. I want you to ask these questions on your, you'll be surprised at some of these answers. People will ask you, where did you come up with these questions? I want you to say, I was just curious. I'm a curious person. I don't want you to say you got them from me. Just say you're curious about things, okay? Now, this question here, now we're getting into the nitty gritty, and I know a lot of you will want to know the answers to this question, okay? This is a great one, and people won't ask this, okay? All right. I love this one. I'm going to give you the reasoning here so we can all be on the same page. And then I'm going to tell you what to look for. All right. All right. I know you guys will like this question because this question will be related to you and his relationship with you. Question number 6. What is the difference for you between a wife and a woman who you would consider like a one-night stand? Like specifically, like what qualities would make one versus the other? This is probably a question I don't think any man will have ever gotten in his entire life. If he did, good on the woman who asked it, okay? The reason that I want you to ask this question, now you get to sit down in front of him and hear his firsthand understanding of what makes a woman, because it's not just going to be, oh, one has a huge dump truck and one has huge yitties, because the reality of it is men will want a beautiful woman either way, right? Is a man ever going to say, I would love to have a one-night stand who is unattractive? No. So now you just eliminate that question, automatically eliminates physical traits, because you're going to want both for both, whether it's a one-night stand or whether it's a wife. Now it's going to force him to do a little bit more thinking, a little bit more digging within himself, and asking of himself what he thinks is most important inside a woman, not inside a woman like here, inside a woman like here and here, that would make the difference between someone who he would take seriously versus someone who he would not take seriously. Now, this is where I really want you, because this next couple of questions and this next section, I should say, you're going to notice a theme here in the way that these questions are proposed. I don't want you to press onto him what you think he should think. I want you to sit back and allow him to express what he thinks and what his perspective is. So, for example, let's say a guy says, you know, I think the difference between a wife and a one-night stand is a woman who will shut up and agree with everything. Okay? I expect my woman, who I actually think as a wife, to just be quiet, not say anything, not have any opinions, and just agree with me on absolutely everything. Let's just say, for example, that's his version or reasoning of what he thinks the difference is internal-wise. Now, we have an understanding that there's actually a misalignment between you and what you think is a wife versus him and what he thinks a wife is, okay? Which is fine, but I want you to see that firsthand. And you're gonna notice the theme in the other questions that I ask. Seeing the difference between what a man considers a good relationship, what he thinks he should be getting from a partner, how he thinks he should be serving his partner, versus what you think that should look like, is such an important realization. Alignment is so important for your ability to have a successful relationship with a man or not. If you find out very quickly and very early in your relationship with the man that the two of you are not aligned in places that are very important as it relates to how your relationship is going to look, you're already aware of the fact that you're wasting your time by even exploring anything further with this man, okay? Now, let me hop into our question number 7, because we're going to go deeper and deeper into alignment and some of the things that I want you to be looking towards and looking for when we talk about alignment, okay? Let's do this like this. All right. Okay. So that was question number 6. Now let's go to question number 7. I like this one too. I told you we're gonna get deep. Okay. Yeah. We say overall relationship. Okay, and then we're going to write out the reason here. All right. Told you alignment's going to be big for this next section. And then we're going to write out what I want you to look for and why this is so important, right? Okay, right? So this question is going to kind of go at him a little bit. And I want you once again to gauge, what does he actually think? This is where you have to sit back and relax. Question number 7. What do you think a husband's responsibilities are in a relationship overall, in a marriage, and in a family? This is a great, great question. When you ask this, you need to let him sit back and tell you exactly what he feels is right and true. Because here you will learn a lot about what a man feels he should be bringing to the table. Like I said, alignment is big here. You should already have in your mind what you think is necessary for a husband's responsibilities to be in a marriage, in a relationship, and as a father. Once you have that in your mind, all you're looking to answer for yourself when you ask this question, are we aligned in the ways that we think a man should be responsible in a relationship, in a marriage, and in a family? Or is there a lot of misalignment here, right? Essentially, do I agree with this statement or do I not? Let me give you an example of an answer a man could give. Let's say he says, yeah, the question, responsibilities, I think, as a man, part of my responsibility is to give my half of the bills. And, when we're doing the mortgage, when we're doing the light bill, when we're doing the groceries, I want to make sure that when I go to my 9 to 5, I'm able to pay my half of the rent, pay my half of the mortgage, pay my half of the groceries and all that other good stuff. I also think that it's kind of my job to be like around and talk to my woman sometimes, but I don't always want to talk, or whatever the case may be, right? Let's say, for example, he finishes on his long spiel of what he thinks his responsibilities are, or he might say, I don't know, I don't think a man needs to necessarily have that many responsibilities, whatever the case may be, and you disagree with that. Great. I don't want you to correct him. I don't want you to tell him what's right or wrong. I don't want you to tell him that, hey, how you think about this and this perspective is the wrong way to think about it. It shouldn't be 50-50. Your relationship should be like this. You're responsible. No. What I want you to do is I want you to recognize that you and him are misaligned in what you think a relationship should look like, what you think a marriage should look like. And I want you to accept that as the truth and as a sign, because I know all of you love signs. You love signs, right? Accept this as a sign that you and this man are not meant to be together. Because the reality of it is, the type of guy that you're actually going to be successful in a relationship with will be already aligned with you in what he thinks his responsibilities will be as a husband in a relationship, in a marriage, in a family, and what you think a man's responsibility should be as a husband in a relationship, in a marriage, and all that good stuff. You can also, as a pro tip, ask this man a question from the opposite perspective. What do you think a wife's responsibilities should be in a relationship, in a marriage, and in a family? Get it from both sides. You will also get a very similar answer in the sense that you'll be able to see if there's alignment or misalignment. Because if you know what you think your responsibilities should be, and he says, yeah, I think my wife's responsibilities should be going to work from 9 to 5, coming back home after work, looking after the children, making sure they're all done, picking them up from school, taking them to after school programs, taking them to soccer practice while I come home and I sit down and I chill, and, making sure she pays her half of the bills, and then making sure when she comes back, she does the laundry, she does the cook, then you have an understanding, oh, we have a lot of misalignment here, because that's not what I think my responsibilities are supposed to be as a wife. That's not what I think my responsibilities are supposed to be in a family. And that's fine. That just means that me and you aren't right for each other. I don't need to argue that. And that will be my clear sign that I don't need to be continuing to explore a relationship with someone who's going to a different point than me. Because you guys aren't going to the same points if he thinks those are your responsibilities and you don't think that. Okay? Let's hop into our next question. Alrighty. There we go. You'll be filled with questions on your next date, filled with all of these deep, deep, deep questions. You're going to memorize them. You're going to say them all on the date, and it's going to be awesome. Question number 8. Okay, love this one. Okay, now I'm obviously abbreviating it. It's not going to be a perfect sentence here, but you'll see what I mean, okay? And then we'll put down here. We'll put down here again, agree. So another great question. You know how we talked about responsibilities? Breaking down, because I've asked this question, it's a great one. So question number 8. This is a great one because when you actually break things down like this, a lot of things that people won't spend a lot of time thinking about, but this will bring a lot of logistical elements to what a relationship and even a marriage would look like when you guys have children together and when you guys are living together, and how things would look at that point in your relationship. Because the reality of it is you date someone to get to that point. You should be, at least. So the question is, what would your day-to-day look like when you're finally in a marriage? Let's say, you have your wife and you have your children, and let's say your children are all in school, different ages in school. What does the day-to-day for your family look like? Take me through what you're doing during that day, what you think or anticipate your wife is doing during that day, and what you anticipate your kids are doing during that day. And I'm talking like from beginning of the day when everyone wakes up to the end of the day. Give me timings, all of that good stuff, right? So the reason you want to ask this question is because you want to see what is the vision here, right? What's the ultimate goal here? How do you see things going? Then you want to look for yourself and ask yourself, is there alignment there? Do I agree with that vision? Do I share that vision, or do I not share this vision? Let me give you an example of what a guy might say. Okay, yeah, I probably envision, well, I'll wake up probably around 12. And, I kind of like to chill when I wake up. So maybe 12, I'll head to the gym, go to the gym, and hopefully I'll be working some sort of job that I could start at like 2 or something, like a little, a work from home type of job. And probably my wife would be going to work too, and going in somewhere or something like that. Children, they probably go to school. Oh, then you ask things like, okay, day to day, who's going to take them to school? Probably my wife's going to take them to school every day. Yeah, every day? Yeah, every day, probably my wife would take them to school. And then, after I kind of see if I have some time to play basketball with the fellas. I do like playing video games, so I want to save some time to play video games. I want to save some time for myself. And when my wife comes back from work, she'll be tired. So maybe she'll only have to take the kids from school to their soccer practice. Oh, I hate driving. That's not my style, because I want to chill when I get back from work. Oh, man. So these are the type of things. It might sound very strange, but when you have a man actually go through the day-to-day, you'll realize, oh my God, I will never be in a relationship with this type of man. That will never work. I can never do that. You might even be someone, let's just say for the sake of example, even in the vice versa, in the opposite sense, he might say, oh, my vision is for my woman to stay at home. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm a boss type of girl. I like to have my own businesses. I like to be out and about. I like to have my own life. I like to take care of things, or whatever the case may be, right? It's all about understanding, is there alignment here or not? If a man is describing his day-to-day and you don't envision that same day-to-day whatsoever, or in some cases it's the complete opposite, then you're going to have a lot of problems going into this relationship with this man. And if you don't recognize them at the beginning, When will you recognize them? When you're finally in this relationship and the way he wants to go about it is completely different than the way that you want to go about it, okay? Let's hop into our 9th question. Told you we have a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Okay. Day to day. Now, this is where we're going to take it a step further here. I like this one. I'm not sure if any of you have asked this to a man. Really like this one. This is a really deep one too. Definitely ask it in person. Okay? You'll get a lot of good stuff from this. All right. Then we write down the reason here. Okay. Okay. That's fine. All right. So for our 9th question here, lots of questions. This one, real deep. Okay. Oh, did I spell benefit wrong? Spell police. I should have a siren that goes off when the spell police catches me misspelling a word. Spell police. Like that. Right? Okay. Yeah. All right. So, question number 9. Okay. What are benefits of having a wife? Great question for you to ask. Again, you're not going to implement on him or press on him what you think he should be answering. You sit back, you relax, and you let him be honest with you about what he really thinks here. It'll give you a lot of context. Okay? Reason for that. First of all, you want to have an understanding. Does he even see having a wife as an advantage? Because the truth of the matter is, I'll just be honest with you, some men that you will go on a date with, okay, whether you meet them on Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, in person at a grocery store, at the club, some men, truthfully and honestly, don't see having a wife as being an advantage. They see it as being a disadvantage for whatever reason, okay? I'm not here to tell you the difference between right and wrong. Now, if he sees it as being a disadvantage, once again, you will see discomfort on his face. Because when you ask a question like this, his thinking will be like, advantage, benefit of having a wife. I don't even see myself getting married. So now when you see and you notice this discomfort, right, that'll tell you a lot about how he really feels towards the idea of marriage and towards the idea of having a wife in general. See, these questions are great. And this type of question is great because you're asking a question that will directly apply to you without actually asking about how he feels about you. Because it's really not about how a man feels about you. It's about how a man feels towards a particular concept that will be input, whether it be you or any other woman in his life. Because one of the things you have to understand about men, relationships will never work if they're not ready for a relationship or they don't think a relationship will benefit them, right? No matter who it is, whether it's their dream girl or not. So what I want you to kind of see on his face and in his reaction and in his answer is he struggling to come up with reasons in which he thinks a woman as his wife would actually benefit him, right? Does it seem like he's lying? Does it seem like he's struggling to come up with answers or reasons or making things up just to make the time go easier, right? Is there a lot of discomfort on his face or in his body language when he's answering this question? Does he not even have an answer? Is he trying to avoid this answer? So this is great, right? Because if a man truly already knows why he's looking for a woman, why he's looking for a partner, he'll be able to tell you why it'll be a benefit to have a wife, okay? And he'll be able to be very direct with you. Now, whatever his reasoning for why he thinks it's a benefit, you can then decide if you agree with that or not. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that, right? If a woman were to ask me, what do I think a benefit of having a wife is? One, you have someone who will emotionally support you, someone who you feel is in your corner, that can actually have your back, that you can trust, like with your life, that you can trust with your secrets, someone that you can be honest with and get honesty from, someone that you can feel like you can actually be your real authentic self with, someone that will, all of these different things that you can go through with the person, whatever the case may be. I don't want to be here forever. But you get my gist, right? So now if I see there's benefit to having a wife and I explain that to you, or I show you that, then obviously I feel like that's something I want in my life because I feel like it's advantageous to me to have that in my life. Vice versa, if I'm a man and I don't feel like it's advantageous for me to have a wife, it's going to be a struggle for me to come up with these answers. If it's not advantageous, if I don't feel like it's advantageous for me to have a wife, why are you here? Why are you wasting your time? Don't waste your time with men who don't even think it's advantageous to have you around. Because you are not going to meet a man and then convince him that it's advantageous to have you around and for you to become a wife if he doesn't actually feel that way, right? You have to recognize where you're actually wanted and needed versus where people will be very appreciative of you. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's hop into our 10 point. All right. Lots of questions. Like I said. Okay, we got a few more. Okay, these are good. Very good. 10th question. All right. I like this one too. This will give you a lot of context. Okay. Then we'll put in here and oh. Okay. So this question here is also a really good one because it'll give you some honest answers. Question number 10, what makes you feel disrespected as a man? Tell me and be honest with me. What would make you feel that way? What could a woman say to you? What could a woman do to you? How would she talk to you? What type of situation would happen that would make you feel really disrespected as a man? Reason? You want to understand, because for every man, there will be different triggers that will really make him feel emasculated. I'll be honest with you. You want to get an idea of if this is one of those triggers you do on a regular basis, okay? Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say, for example, he feels like one of the ways in which he'll feel really disrespected is if a woman calls him outside of his name, like calls him the B word or something when they're in an argument, right? Whether it be in private or out in public. And you know, if you're being honest with yourself, when you get mad and you get emotional, sometimes you say things and do things that you don't necessarily mean or you might regret, or maybe when you get drunk and emotional, okay? And you know that there's been instances where you've been drunk, emotional, upset, whatever the case may be, and you've called in that man that you were with at the time the B word when you guys were in an argument. Now we have something to think about, because I'm not going to say that you should throw the whole relationship away, but now you want to be very, very cognizant of what he just said. Because I always tell you guys, right? Like the same way you can build a man up, you can really beat him down to the point where he also doesn't want to do anything for you. And he completely shuts down on you. So when a man, before you get a chance to have to go through the situation, outright tells you the most delicate trigger points for him, it's best for you to recognize that, so that even when you're upset, because there's nothing wrong with you being upset, there's nothing wrong with you being angry, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to get your feelings out and be honest about how you feel. But even when you are upset, it's very important that you don't take it to a place that you can't recover from. Because I'll be honest with you, for guys, we're very strange creatures. So you might say one thing or do one thing in a fight one time or 2 times or 3 times, and you might think that it's over and it's done with when you guys move on from it. But he might feel so emasculated and so hurt by it that he never forgets it. And for men, unfortunately, even sometimes when they feel so emasculated and disrespected, they still won't be honest with you about how much that actually hurt them. this is why I want you to have the discussion with him beforehand so you can already know what type of roadblocks to avoid so you don't even get to that point with him. Because trust me, once he gets to the point where he feels completely emasculated and disrespected and he's just holding that in, that grudge, you will be sleeping in the bed with a man who is holding like a crazy grudge against you and you won't even realize it. It's very dangerous, okay? I don't want that for you. But I also want you to be aware of the ways that that could happen. So it's very important to have that conversation because now we're starting to have conversations about things like fight language, which I want you to know about a man, okay? Let's hop into our question number 11. 11. Okay. Let's do this. What did I have here for question number 11? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Question number 11. Okay. All right. And I'll put down the reason here. Every time I spell regrets, I think of that movie. What's that movie called where there's a scene where the guy, he tattoos on himself no regrets, but he spells regrets with an A instead of an E. And so it's obviously a skit because he spelled regrets, no regrets, and obviously he's going to regret the tattoo. What's that movie called, though? I can't remember. Every time I think of that word, it reminds me of that, right? Okay. Is that Orange is the New Black? The one with Jennifer Aniston? I don't know if it's Orange is the New Black. Yeah, I think it's Meet the Millers. I think it's Meet the Millers. That's the name of the movie. I always remember that scene whenever I think of that word. Okay. Question number 11. All right. What are some past situations that if you were able to go back in time, you would do differently? Now, I specifically want you to ask this question as it relates to like past situations in relationships with people. Now, I want you to recognize this because I want you to recognize some of his regrets, obviously, regrets. And I also want you to look for what may become patterns if you haven't already noticed them in your relationship with him so far. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say a guy has a tendency to disappear. And let's say him disappearing on his ex-girlfriend for a week straight is what led to their breakup, right? Their breakup forever, or whatever the case may be. And he feels like, well, yeah, you know, to be honest with you, at the time, I was really upset with her about something that she did. And rather than talking about it, I avoided her, and I avoided her for so long. It was 7 days, and that literally, you know, ended our relationship because so many things just happened in that 7 days when we should have just had a conversation. And I feel like we could have worked our way through it. Excuse me. Let's say for the sake of example, that's the answer to his question. Now, what I want you to ask yourself and answer for yourself, have you seen some of those same patterns in his relationship with you so far? Or if you haven't, put a pin in that so that you can be thinking to yourself, as we go on in this relationship, am I seeing that same regret that he said he wanted to change or adjust, not be changed or not be adjusted? Because now this will help you identify a couple of things. Now it will help you realize, okay, what I'm seeing here is not like a one-time thing, because clearly this was the same reasoning that his last relationship ended. So let's say you're in now a relationship with this guy and you guys have like a small argument or whatever the case may be, and he disappears on you for 3 days. This is not an isolated incident anymore. Now you've just gotten information beforehand to recognize that this is actually a pattern of behavior. In fact, this pattern of behavior gets so bad that it can actually be the reasoning for a relationship ending. So now when you see this at the very beginning, rather than you having to go through all of the same pain as the past partner, you can ask yourself a question. Is this pattern something that I'm willing to deal with, I can work with, or is this pattern something that also for me will trigger me to the point where I can't even continue on in this relationship. So rather than having to learn from your own mistake of going through this a million times with this guy, you can learn from someone else's mistake because he secretly gave you this answer. And you can ask yourself, is this worth it for me? Or if I start noticing this pattern very early on, am I just going to be out? Because it's one thing to identify the pattern. It's another thing to say you know it, say it's a regret of yours, and then never change it. Okay? Right? Let's hop into our question number 12. Okay? I tried to give you guys as many questions as I can that I really think matter, okay? I know there's many different questions that you can go on a date and ask a guy, but I think these are the ones that really, really matter in terms of like understanding if there's a purpose to even like dating this guy continuously, because I don't want you to be wasting time, okay? Now, this is a great one. Some of you love the shy boys and the silent boys, and this is just a great one for men overall, okay? Is it ED or, yeah, no, it's got to be ED. That's ED. All right. Now, reasoning, okay? And what I want you to look for. Okay. All right, question number 12. All right. I want you to ask a man, what are some things in your previous relationships, whether it be your most recent ex or the ex before that, that bothered you, that either that person said, they did, or just of their personality, that you never actually told that person? Reason for that. Men, we have a character flaw. A lot of them have a character flaw where we find it difficult to actually express what's bothering us, especially if we become accustomed to just bottling things up. So it's going to sound very weird. And you might actually be this ex for someone as well. But sometimes, and I kid you not, men will go through an entire relationship and there will be something that that woman that he's with does or says that bothers him like a lot. And he just never mentions it, never brings it up, never says anything about it, but it's bothered him the entire time. The reason I say that is I want you to then answer for yourself when you hear this from him, if this is the case, if he has been bottling it up, how severe is the thing that he was bottling up? So let me give you an example of what something that would be considered severe is. Let's say he's like, yeah, so one thing that I never really told my ex is that it always really bothered me how she had a bunch of guy best friends. And I never told her this, but I just never trusted her when she would go out. And so sometimes, I would kind of check up and spy on things and look at things, but I always had a lack of trust with her, and it made me feel very closed off to her. And it also made me feel like, when I go out, I'm just kind of like, what's the point? I should get to have my own female friends if she's going to have her guy friends and things like that. So why do I say this, right? It would be an example of like, wow, that's something really severe to be bottling up. And every time you're seeing the guy friend, every time she's talking about the guy friend, every time she's going out and hanging out with friends, you're feeling uncomfortable, but you're not speaking up for the fact that you're feeling uncomfortable. What is going to happen at some point where you get to a boiling point where you're so uncomfortable that you just explode? I don't want you to be with men who get very comfortable bottling major things up. And unfortunately, what I want you to realize is this is a character trait. It's actually kind of like a character flaw. Yes, to a certain extent, men will naturally bottle some things up. Some men, though, will bottle major things up. And when they bottle major things up, eventually they get to a point where they have to let it out because it's been building up over the course of time. And if you've ever been in this situation as a woman, you know what this looks like. One day, randomly, you'll not do the dishes or something, and then he'll explode and start talking about, 1 year ago when you disrespected him and how you never listened to him and he never gets treated like a man in this house and he never has any respect from you and how you degrade him and all this other stuff. And you're like, what? I just didn't do a single dish and now you're freaking out and talking to me about 1 year ago? That's because these type of men, they will bottle things up and just let it build and let it build and never address it, okay? So the reason I want you to ask this question is I want you to sense very early on if he has that type of character flaw. Unfortunately, it's gonna be very hard to build with a man who naturally bottles things up, because if you don't know he has a problem, there's no way to fix or adjust the situation, so there's no longer a problem, right? Everyone should get to feel comfortable, everyone should get to feel heard, but then that person has to be willing and able to speak up for themselves, okay? Does that make sense? All right, chat. Do you guys have any questions about the 12? Questions. About the 12 questions that we did here today. I will answer any questions about all 12 of the questions we did. And even if there's any that you think maybe should have been added to the list, however we want to do it, we can do it that way, okay? Okay. All right. LP Baby says, dang, I've made every mistake in the book. That was my ex. He bottled everything up until he blew up. And, well, he's your ex for a reason, right? E. Grace says, I missed 1 to 6. It's okay. If you missed any of the points, you can always go into my YouTube channel, which is just above my head on the top right corner of the screen. Click where it says Tomisin. No, don't have to click anything. Actually, just type it in on YouTube, Tomisin. Then you can go to my YouTube channel. You'll see me live on YouTube at the same time as I'm live on TikTok. Then you can just rewind the entire live stream from start to finish to see any of the points that you missed here, okay? Does that make sense? Nadia says, just got here. Someone please post the summary. Thanks. I mean, you can just rewind it. Not very hard. You can rewind it if you're watching this on YouTube, okay? Azel says, what do you do if a guy you're talking to disappears after arguments or ignores? So there's different things you can do. For example, if a guy disappears after an argument, like let's say he needs to actually take space after an argument because he needs to cool down or take a walk or whatever he does to clear his head, there's nothing wrong with him taking space after an argument if that's a discussion you guys have that he needs after an argument. However, there's a balance there, meaning taking space for yourself for like a day or something like that, or a couple of hours, there's nothing wrong with that. Disappearing for days on end is not sustainable. So there needs to be a conversation that you guys have, assuming this is your boyfriend, there's a conversation that you guys have where you come to an understanding of what is sustainable for both of you. Because you shouldn't expect a man who needs to take space to process his emotions to come to you right away, because that's unfair to him and how he processes emotions. Vice versa, you also can't create a situation in which he takes space for days or weeks, and then what are you supposed to do in that time, right? Now, if that guy is not your boyfriend, you do nothing, okay? And if it's gonna be more than 2 weeks in which he's disappearing or taking space, then you don't even welcome him back when he comes back after that, because you don't need to be dealing with a man who gives that little of poop about you, okay? What do you do when you've gotten to a stage in your life where you don't feel excited about dating anymore? You know what's funny, Yo-Yo? I hear that actually a lot when people come into my show and they watch it for long enough and they hear all the ways that men think and their strategies and all this other stuff. They're like, Tomisin, thank you for the information. Now I don't even want to date anymore. Now I'm not even excited to date anymore. And I laugh because really what you have to understand is this information isn't about things being all bad. What I just want you to see for yourself is there's a reason your relationships haven't worked out. Now, I'm not saying that everything is all your fault, but I just want you to understand the inner workings of relationships, how different people are motivated by different things, how men are incentivized, what motivates them, what they're attracted to, what repels them, things like that, so that your understanding can grow. Because a lot of times, the frustration that you will feel in your relationships or with men is because of a lack of understanding. When you have more understanding on why they're doing the things that they're doing, even when they do things that you don't like, you'll actually feel a lot better because you'll know why they're doing it. You'll know why they're responding that way. And you'll feel a lot more clarity within yourself. That will subsequently help you be more unbothered. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like in the sense that like when he goes off and he throws his temper tantrum the way that he throws his temper tantrum, you know why he's doing it like that. So then it bothers you less because you know that he's going to respond like this if you just hold your water and stay cool. Right? Vice versa, if you're just unsure of why men do certain things or why he might do this or why he might be throwing this tantrum or why he might disappear for a day or so or whatever the case may be, and you're not sure how he'll respond if you take a particular action, now you're all discombobulated, now you're confused, now you don't know what to do, right? So I try to provide you with that clarity, but I want you to date still. I know it takes a little bit of the magic and the fantasy of, you know, meeting people and falling in love like a fairy tale from it when I break it down on a whiteboard, right? But the reality of it is it can still be love even though there's a more logistical and realistic element to it, right? Because I personally think that yes, being emotional is good. Yes, wanting to have your fairy tale is good. But then also asking yourself real questions about how you bring your real, your fantasy fairy tale to life in reality is very important to ask yourself, right? And how do you become successful in doing that? Because living your fairy tale is not just about a man knocking on your door and saying, hey, I'm here to sweep you off your feet, marry you, and take you to a land far, far away. That's just not going to happen, right? Women always ask me other things like, oh, how do I meet a man? I always say it starts by stepping outside of your house, okay? You're not going to meet a man by sitting in your house where nobody sees you. Even if you are the most beautiful girl on earth, do you understand? Because sometimes you guys don't be thinking this. If you're the most beautiful girl on earth, if you sit in your house all day and no one gets a chance to meet you, you will never meet men, okay? Like it's just not gonna happen, right? And even if you're a beautiful woman, like you have to go outside of your house. You have to put yourself out there. And putting yourself out there isn't going on dating apps, okay? It's not. Egray says, I don't think I can handle, what'd you say? I don't think I can handle a man disappearing on me for a day without knowing where he is. It depends. Is he your boyfriend or not? If he's not your boyfriend, don't be worried about what he's doing. In the sense that like, you can't be super bothered about people that aren't even committing themselves to you, right? Like, you just can't be. But obviously, if it's your boyfriend, then that's a different story, right? Someone says, if his answers are red flags, what's the best way to end things? Just tell him that you don't think that you and him are aligned. There's nothing wrong. Like when you get to the point where you realize you and a man aren't going to work out, there's nothing wrong with just being like, yeah, you know, I appreciate going on dates with you. I appreciate spending time with you. I just don't think me and you are aligned, right? If he asks you for an explanation, you can choose to explain to him, or you can choose to just be vague. It's really up to you. But like once you realize it's over or it's not going to work out, like it's okay to just tell someone, yeah, it's over. It's not going to work out. Like, what is he going to say? You're wrong for feeling like we're misaligned? How, right? Like it's not when you ask someone questions, it's not about it being a right or wrong answer. It's just about you saying, hey, are we aligned or not? If we're not aligned, it's not a crime. You're not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. It just means that we should find other people, right? You don't have to think of it as like it's got to be the right answer or else type of thing, okay? Ayo says, how long should we take before sleeping with someone? I actually have a whole show dedicated to that. It's called, if you go on my YouTube channel, the main side of my channel, my videos, and you look for the one that says the complete sex timeline, you will see the video that addresses exactly that, okay? LP Baby says, do you think women are happier single? Where did this go? Do you think women are happier single, Tommy? Read peer reviews articles that single unmarried women are happier and live longer, and married men also live longer and are happier. Isn't that crazy? It's very possible. I haven't seen or read that article, so I don't know the validity of that article or that analysis. But I don't like to live with any particular limiting belief, because if you have a desire to be with a man and in a happy, healthy relationship and in a marriage, and that's your goal for yourself, I don't want you to have in your mind, single women are happier, because that will become your limiting belief, okay? I want you to understand whatever you choose to believe in for your life and yourself will be your reality. So if you choose to live in the reality that the happiest women are all single, that will be your reality, and you'll be miserable when you're in relationships. Vice versa, if you choose to believe that I don't care what other people are experiencing, I know that I'll find a good, happy, healthy relationship that will make me a happier woman, then that is the reality that you will live in, okay? Limiting beliefs can be such a a way to put yourself in a box where you only see one type of thing. It's the same idea or concept as saying to yourself, I'm only ever gonna meet trash men. I'm never gonna meet a good man. All the men out here are garbage. They all just want to sleep with me. They don't want to build with me. There's no one that I can take seriously. That will become your limiting belief. And then what do you think you'll see every time you go out and you try to date? You'll see nothing but garbage trash men who you can't do nothing with, right? It'll literally become your reality, okay? So that's not what the point of our shows are. I want you to understand what's going on so you can pivot and filter out men quickly, but then also recognize what it is you're looking for. All of this helps you better identify what you're looking for so you waste less time. That's how I want to kind of reframe your mind here, okay? Simi says, hi, Tomisin, I've been watching you for a while. How come you don't recommend dating apps? That's a great question, okay? I don't recommend dating apps because if we quickly break down the logic, who do you think the laziest men when it comes to meeting women will be? And where do you think they would want to spend the most time if they're very lazy when it comes to meeting women and dating women and courting women and getting access to them? It will be the men on dating apps. Because ask yourself this question. If I'm a lazy man, put yourself in a lazy man's shoes. Very lazy, okay? I don't like to brush my hair, shave, get a haircut, look good, go to the gym, none of that. I don't want to spend time being charismatic, interesting, buying girls drinks. That's not red pill. Buying girls drinks, spending money on them. I don't want to do any of that. I want to get access to women for free. And I want to spend as little time invested in them, as little money spent in them. And I don't want to mess around here. So where would I go if I want to invest no money, barely any time, and I want to be able to get access to as many women as I can possibly get in like a 1 hour time span? I will go right to dating apps. So ironically, this is going to sound very weird, but you'll actually even meet more intentional men by going to the club or the bar than you will even on the dating apps, because the dating apps are for like the laziest of lazy men. They don't even have to get out. Think about this logic. They don't even have to get out of their crusty, dusty, nut-stained boxers to talk to you. Do you realize that? To talk to you, you're an amazing, beautiful, sexy, seductive, voluptuous woman. Anyone would crawl on glass to be with you and sniff your butthole. And that man can sit in his crusty, dusty, nut-stained boxers, right? Tissues everywhere, lotion everywhere, no bed sheets, okay? Unshaven, no haircut. And he can get access to you through the dating app? But you're supposed to be this amazing woman that everyone wants and will crawl on glass for? How does that work? Right? So you have to create an alignment between the perception that you want men to have of you and the access, or the things they'll have to do to access you. So you can't put yourself in that position where you want to be a woman that you have men putting their best foot forward to access you, but they can sit in their nut-stained, crusty boxers and get access to you and talk to you and message you, right? Some of these, one of these days, I'm gonna start saving, because I save a lot of stuff on Instagram that I should be sending to my TikTok to show you guys, because you'll see how the men are using the dating app, even Hinge. I know some of you guys think, oh, Hinge is the only serious one. Even Hinge, men are using it as literally a game. Copy and pasting all of these different lines that they can use on you, and they're using it as a game just to see how many fish can they catch, right? Literally, just like, all right, I'll say the wildest stuff. If I say the wildest stuff, how many people will respond to me? Whoever blocks me or removes me, I don't care. Some of them will respond, and those will be the women I sleep with. I'm telling you, it sounds like a game. That's the real game. So that's why I don't like the dating apps. Don't make me rant here, okay? Right? Someone says, I know Tomisin said don't ask these questions by text or chat, but what about video chat live with the guy? No, I want you to be in person with him, okay? I want you to be in person with him. I want you to feel his energy. I don't want him to have any option to get out of this, right? Because even over video chat, you ask him the question that he's uncomfortable with. My mom's calling. A connection bad. My Wi-Fi crazy, girl. My Wi-Fi crazy. I don't want him to get any way of getting out of it, right? Once you're in that phase where you're asking those good, deep, intimate questions, I don't want him to have no way out of it. And if he's uncomfortable, I want you to see the discomfort on his face. You guys always love your signs, right? You love your signs. You love your clues. You want someone to give you an answer on how he really feels and provide you with clarity. That will provide you with all the clarity you need. That will give you all the signs you need, because you know the feeling. You can see it on someone's face when they're uncomfortable, when he's going through a lot of discomfort answering these questions. You know in your heart of hearts, oh, he's not ready. Oh, we're not on the same page, right? And it's good, because then you can't lie to yourself. Then you know what the truth is, right? And I want that for you. That's why I want it to be in person. Don't mention it beforehand. Don't talk about it beforehand. Let it be in person. You get all the context clues, and you get to see if he's uncomfortable with no way out. Okay, no way out. I'm being honest, right? Someone says, where do you recommend going to meet men who want to date? Because I don't want to go to clubs. Oh, no, Purple Corpse. I wasn't advising you to go to clubs or bars to meet men who want to date. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying those men are at least putting forth more effort than the men you'll meet on dating apps. But in my advice in where to meet men, I say just go places that you're interested in. Because at least when you go places you're interested in, like, so places that you're interested in that you can go to learn, grow, or develop yourself in something, whether learn, grow in your spiritual development, mental, physical health, emotional health. You want to go to a museum, an art gallery, an art class, whatever the case may be, right? You want to go to a library, a convention, whatever you want to go to that you actually enjoy. Fitness, the gym, whatever. A fitness class, a yoga class, okay? So I went to a new gym, and the person was recommending to me hot yoga. I was like, isn't it all women in the hot yoga class? She was like, no, there's actually, a good mix of everyone there, okay? But the reason I say that is because when you go to somewhere that you already find interesting, that you would like to spend your time there anyways, it doesn't become so much pressure on you to feel like I'm wasting time unless I meet a guy here, or unless a guy comes up to me. Because let's say you go out to a country club that you would never go to if it wasn't to meet rich men. You go to the country club, you sit down, and in 2 hours, no men talk to you. You're gonna walk away from that country club very frustrated, because you're gonna feel like I wasted time there, because I would never be there if it wasn't to meet men. And I went there and I didn't meet men. So I'd rather you go to a place that you will love and enjoy, whether you meet men or not. It takes the pressure off you, and I promise you, as soon as you take the pressure off yourself, that's the moment you meet someone. When you have all that pressure on you, oh, I need to meet someone, oh, this is not gonna work out, this is gonna be horrible if I don't, you're never gonna be able to attract anyone, okay? Someone says, I think that is actually called Grindr or something like that. What are you talking about? You talking about the Grindr app? No. No apps, no apps. No apps, please. No apps that will have you chatting with people before you actually meet them, okay? Oh, someone says, what is your opinion on dating someone you are working for? You can date someone you work for if you want to lose your job, if you want to be blackmailed, if you want to be held against your will, and if you want to have no way of setting boundaries. Then I advise you to date someone you're working for, because that's exactly what will happen. Who's in the position of power if you date someone you're working for, especially a man you're working for? Him. Who can force you to talk to them and be around them and interact with them if he crosses your boundaries or upsets you? He can. So how do you get to withdraw, or how do you get to basically set a boundary that, hey, if you do this and you cross it, you're not going to get access to me, right? You can't, because now he's going to see you at work every day. So you never get a chance to tell him no, and he can continue being in your life while continuing to mistreat you. And then you feel like if you stop sleeping with him, now you're going to lose your job. So you don't get to say no, and you don't even get to be in control of your own body, or whether you choose to continue sleeping with the man even though he treats you badly. So it's like horrible for you every way around. It's crazy. Like there's no win for you there. So I would never advise you to do it unless you like really hate your life and you just want to put yourself in the worst position ever. Okay. I went to a new gym. I felt so out of place. Went straight back to hiding at home. See, the thing is, like, the first day is really the worst day. The next day you come back, even if it's a new gym, the next day you come back, you know where the equipment is. You kind of have your time that you go at. You're not as uncomfortable because it's not super new. And every day from there just gets a little bit better. And I promise you, going to a new gym will actually, that could be one of the easiest things you do. Because when you sign up at a new gym, even if you're used to going to the gym already, you sign up at a new gym maybe a little bit away from where you live at, so you're meeting some new people, and then sign up for a couple of classes. They usually throw in some free classes. you know, sessions, hot yoga, whatever classes, cycling classes. You go to a couple of those because they'll give you them during the free sign up. And I promise you, first day you'll get a chance to meet new people like instantly. Okay, it's not that hard. You guys, you're making it in your head very difficult and very hard because you want it to be that hard, or not. I'll say you want it to be that hard, but like you're just making it so big that you feel like you can't do it. Even if that scares you, go with a friend then, right? It's not gonna be that bad, right? Sherry says, I know 5 people who met at work and are now married. Just avoid your immediate team. Yeah, I agree. If someone doesn't work, let's say in your section, in your team, and it's someone where my biggest thing is if you're a woman and you're dating someone, you should still be able to set a boundary. Meaning, if you're dating a guy that is working in the same company as you, but like if let's say you wanted to not talk to him because you were setting a boundary and he crossed it, you should be able to actually not talk to him without it affecting your work at all and not see him throughout the day. If that's the case, then hey, it's okay, because then you can do what you need to do as a woman. If you're in a scenario in which you work with someone that if you stop talking to them or if they cross a boundary of yours or whatever the case may be, you have to continue collaborating or interacting with them, then that's not gonna work. Because how are you supposed to properly set a boundary when that guy still gets to see you, he still gets to get access to you? Now, instead of apologizing to you in order to get access to you again, he can just say, hey, we have an assignment or we have a project and you've got to talk to me. So you can't just ignore me on Slack. You can't just stop texting me. I'm your collaborator. We've got to work on this project. And he like dangles it over your head and then he forces you back into the same cycle, right? So very, very important. All right, chat, let's hop into our next section of the show. Our next section is our reacts section. Oh, by the way, for those of you who have a personal question for me, even if it's not about any of the things we discussed here today, but you want to ask me a personal question about your relationship or your situationship, go into the link in my bio if you're watching this on TikTok, or in my description if you're watching this on YouTube. Click where it says private relationship advice, and then you can type out your question, as many paragraphs as you want. Send it in to me, and then I'll respond with a voice message, 8 to 10 minutes long, sometimes 20. Sometimes I actually had one recently that was 30 because it was so detailed. That I'll send back to you, and you'll get that back through your email. It only takes me a couple of days, and I'm pretty caught up now. So you can do that as well if you want to send me in a personal question to get my advice.
Things were just off. I went to my La Mer moisturizer and there was like dirt in it and like little fingers in it.
She fucking used your La Mer, dude?
She also decided like La Mer used like so much of it. And I was just like, no. This is so specific.
That's like $300 moisturizer.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just like the Sol de Janeiro had like tiny little fingerprints in it. And I was just like, no. There were other things that were so specifically girl coded, like my moon juice powder had been used. I could tell my fragrances were kind of out of place. I was like, someone has been here. I knew. Like, also, like, women know.
Somebody touched my drum set.
Somebody touched my fucking drum set. I asked him, I was like, hey, can I get the login for the security? He's like, no. Like, it's not done being set up yet. It was like very weird about it. And that's when I knew. I was like, I have to get into those cameras. Like, I need to know. And I'm also somebody where, like, I don't go through someone's shit. If I feel the need to go through text messages, I just know it's over. It's done. This was the one time that I'm like, I need to get into the security system because someone has been here and I need to have answers.
When someone is manipulating and gaslighting you, you need validation, like physical evidence and proof, to prove to yourself and your brain that you're not crazy. Exactly. And I understand respecting people's privacy. You shouldn't be going through phones. But if it gets to a point where you need to see some shit, that's fine.
Yeah. And
sorry,
I even asked him. Anyway, that night I knew. I woke up in the middle of the night even. Like, my body was like, go get in that security cam footage.
Yeah.
I got it first guess. It was my birthday. The password was my birthday.
Is he good?
No, he's not good. Dude, like clockwork, there was a girl coming in 9 p.m. every night who looked identical to me. Identical. Just like me. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I take a screenshot of this. I end up like spam calling my friend waking up who works in cybersecurity. And I was like, this is so important.
You would have a friend in cybersecurity.
Within like 10 seconds, he like scanned it, found her face. So figured out who she was. He followed her on Instagram. Our entire friend group followed her and we're like recent followers.
Why?
So they were all in on it. Everybody knew. And that's when I decided, fuck this shit. I'm gonna go crazy bitch. When I got back.
Wait. The story was actually not going bad until she said, let's all follow her like fans. I get it. You know, we're all emotional people, and, you know, emotions run high. Sometimes we do things that we regret or don't make us look our best. But like, if you finally do get the validation, like, of like realizing you're not crazy, just like, let that be your win. You don't have to take it. Cause like, what are you going to say to the girl? You're coming into my place and you're cheating on me. And don't you know that that's wrong? Do you think she cares? Do you think it's going to stop her from wanting to be with the guy if she wants to be with the guy? No. Like, stop. Don't waste your own time. Don't waste your own energy. Don't follow her like a fan. What are you doing? Have some respect. Okay? You're not a fan. Don't, like, why would you follow? I don't want to get upset. Let's go to the next one.
The one predictor of divorce. With 93.6% accuracy, he can tell you if a couple will get divorced by watching a silent video of them. Dr. John Gottman is a marriage and family counselor, and he did the largest marriage experiment ever done. He brought couples in his lab. If one member of the couple shows that one-sided mouth raised towards the other, with 93.6% accuracy, they'll get divorced.
Crazy.
Why? Because he's looking for contempt. Contempt is one of the only emotions that doesn't go away. Fear comes in a burst, you calm down. Happiness comes, then you go back to normal. Anger comes and you calm down. Not contempt. If you feel scorn or disdain for someone else, if it is not addressed, it festers and it grows. And that is why at the end of a very bad marriage, you have two people who can't even look at each other. And so I want you to be, one, on the lookout for contempt, to be like, what's going on? Are you okay? What are you feeling? I want to be here for it. Because then you're giving air to whatever that contempt is so it can be addressed. And then you can either fix it or become the enemy against it. And I have a very fervent belief that all couples have the same 3 fights. They might dress up as other things, but down low, they're the same 3 fights. You have to sit with your partner and figure out what are your basic, like root level 3 arguments. And that way, when you're in an argument, even if you feel like we still disagree, you can be like, oh, this is argument number 2. Okay.
We gotta end it.
We're in a stalemate on this one. Argument number 2, what are we doing today? The one predictor of divorce with 93.
I actually like this. I like this, and it kind of incorporates in some of the questions that I talked to you guys about today. Obviously, I'm not no doctor, okay, or a therapist, but some of the questions we incorporated today was trying to get an understanding of what could be some of those arguments that she just talked about, like those type of fights where it's like every time you have a conversation or a fight about it, it seems like you get nowhere with that person because it's just one of those like stalemate kind of situations, right? And understanding very quickly, is there enough alignment in your relationship with a man where you wouldn't have issues that just become issues that fester for a long time in your relationship with someone, right? Because sometimes when you spend so much time with someone only to realize that they're very misaligned with you in one particular area that's really important, you can start to like sweep it under the rug because you're like, I've invested so much time here. What's the point of me getting rid of this person now? Let's just keep it that way, even though it bothers me, even though it's festering, and then it'll just grow and it'll just grow and it'll just grow until the relationship explodes because of it. It'll explode at one point.
Did James ever cheat? It don't matter to me as long as I get my money. I live in my house. I'm driving my car. I get my lips. I can get my nails. I can get my kids' nails, toes, cruises. Don't have to work. I'm good, baby. She's just doing the dirty work that I will never have to do. So that's the point when I think about anybody trying to cheat. But sadly, he ain't cheating. Well, not sadly. He at home, sleep by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock tops. He's old, y'all. Old people come home early. People don't waste their money out in the club. What he gonna be doing at the club or at the bar? And I always say this when people ask me that question. My emotions have priorities. I'm not going to do something stupid and drastic because someone is feeling insecure about themselves. For me, when a man cheats and they already have something at home that's decent, it's their own insecurity. Shira, how old was James when he was almost 50, 47? Okay. Did James ever cheat? It don't matter to me as long as I get my money. I live in my house. I'm driving my car. I can get my lips. I can get my nails. I can get my kids' nails.
What I don't like about this is I like that Shira adopts the mindset that, you know, her life is her life and she's not going to overstress herself about what someone else is doing in their own spare time. But the only thing that, you know, as she chooses to live her life how she wants to live it, I'm nobody, right? But the only thing that I want to caution you guys of is I don't want you to exchange your security or your emotions for the money. That's all. That's all, right? Like that's all I caution you guys of, because I hear a lot, people be like, oh, well, if he's rich and he cheats or he does this or he mistreats me, at least I get a Birkin bag out of it, or at least I got no one's giving a Birkin, but at least I get a Chanel bag out of it, or a YSL bag, or whatever the case may be. But that shouldn't be a justification for your feelings, right? And your relationship. I just don't think. Okay. So, but more power to Shira if that's how she chooses to do it, right?
James had a wife and a girlfriend when I met him.
Oh, this is another one.
I knew I could get him.
Sorry, what did she say?
Did
Sorry.
James had a wife and a girlfriend when I met him.
What? So James is her current husband now. She's saying that this guy had a wife and a girlfriend when she met him. I did not know that about Shira. Interesting.
I knew I could get him. I didn't know when I first met him that he had a wife and a girlfriend. I found out later. But the only reason I stuck around is because I knew they weren't no competition. If I could date.
What? I don't know if I heard. Let me rewind.
Did
this.
James ever? James had a wife and a girlfriend when I met him. I knew I could get him. I didn't know when I first met him that he had a wife and a girlfriend. I found out later. But the only reason I stuck around is because I knew they weren't no competition. If I could date someone for 3 months, have him paying all my bills, and he got he was separated, and he's separated and has a girlfriend, and he haven't stopped seeing me yet, then I'm the one. If I could take him, then I can keep him. And I'm not just being confident. He was way older than me, So I calculated that out correctly. I didn't take someone my same age. I didn't take someone who looked better than me. I took someone I knew I was going to be able to keep. And James was separated, not divorced. He might have been going back to his wife. I don't know. But I got him. You snooze, you lose. James had a wife.
Okay, everyone has their own way about going about life. It's not my job to tell people they're soon right and wrong. But if we were looking for, because our goal here is to help you to get what you want for your relationships. If we were looking for like a strategy and a technique to follow, my advice would not be to follow Shira's technique or strategy, because from what and I'm just reading into the clips that I see of her, she might be talking something totally different. For those of you who watch her stuff in totality, you can tell me differently maybe. But from what I understand, if we were to recreate Shira's approach here, like her strategy 1-to-1, so that we can help you get the same thing that she has, which is a rich man, it seems like her strategy consists of, okay, in order to get a rich man, right? Obviously you want to look good, take care of yourself, things like that. But then you also want to be shooting for men who are like medium ugly to ugly, because I hear her say that a lot, right? Like, don't go for the pretty boys. Don't go for men who look too good. Don't go for men who are attractive and things like that, because they'll have other girls, right? Go for men who are much older, so you can get that death benefit and that life insurance, and that don't know what's going on. And yeah, obviously then he has to be rich and willing to pay for everything, right? So I don't know if we were going to recreate her strategy, right? I just don't think that's what will help you succeed here, because unless I'm mistaken, tell me, are any of you, and you can tell me in the chat, yes or no, would you be willing, in order to get and secure a rich man, would you be willing to sacrifice, like he's ugly, and he's also really old, like really old, like probably barely able to get it up old. Like we talking like, he's on his last, not his last leg, but like, you know what I mean? Like he's proper old type of thing. Like he's probably already like almost a grandparent. Let me know. Would you be willing to sacrifice that for a man who's got money? I don't know. Because the reality of it is, someone says yes in a heartbeat. No on his last three. Definitely not getting with old and ugly. What's the point then? No, like gross. Nope. right? She doesn't even look happy. What's the point? So I guess the reason I asked that question is because, obviously Shira has her own way of going about things. If it works for her, it works for her. I'm not here to judge. But if we were talking about, if any of you watch her and you're thinking, okay, I want to recreate what she has, just, remember that's her strategy, right? Like that's her strategy of approach, right? You have to date a guy who's ugly and you have to date a guy who's like on the older side because that's the way that the strategy works in terms of keeping him, I guess, for her, right? So that's all I say to that. Me, I'm more focused on the emotional side of things. I think it's still possible to get a man who's successful, but have him have emotional investment in you. But I also think that you have to care more about the man than just about his money. But obviously everyone's different. Shira's not wrong in her approach. If that's what works for her, then that's what works for her. Okay.
Women want to be fucked by a man. We are not delicate.
We just start. Okay, just hold on. Just 1 second.
Women want to be fucked by a man. We are not delicate little creatures that you can't be rough with. We want to be dominated and shown who's boss. Women actually want to surrender all control to you. So don't be afraid to take that control and completely ravish her. She wants it and she thinks it's hot. She doesn't just want to feel loved. She wants to feel like you own her ass. And if you don't own her ass, another man will. Women want to be fucked by a man. We are not delicate little creatures that you can't be rough with. We want to be dominated and shown who's boss. Women actually want to surrender all control to you. So don't be afraid to take that control and completely ravish her. She wants it and she thinks it's hot. She doesn't just want to feel loved. She wants to feel like you own her ass. And if you don't own her ass, another man will.
I think this is a little bit misleading. It's a little bit misleading because I think that she has to like you first for any of this to work. I don't think it just works where you just can just approach off that type of energy. I feel like you have to kind of feel that energy out before you get to that point. I don't know. Do you guys agree or no? Do you agree with this or no? I don't know. Maybe I'm confused. I'm not going to say I don't know some women like that. I definitely know some women like that. But I feel like she's not saying you got to like her first. Just she got to like you, first. I feel like maybe. So a lot of people saying, no, I don't agree. Husband only. If he's my BF and we're serious. Interesting. Yes, I agree. I 100% agree. She was extremely aggressive. She's the man. Maybe some of you like being the man in the bedroom or like taking control in the bedroom. That's it's fine. Everyone's different.
I am a firm believer that the guy always pays on the first date, second date, third, fifth, first several dates, right? This is just
okay, buckle up, chat, because this video has 7,000 comments, so clearly there's some controversy here.
It's just law. You know what I mean? Why argue about it? Just pay for the date, Doesn't matter who asked who. But guys should also know when you're being robbed, okay? This was like way back in the day. I met this girl off Tinder. We're kind of like vibing a little bit. And I asked her to go on a date. And I asked her, where would you like to go? And she says, I want to go to Wild Wings, which I could have thought of like 17 different places. But hey, it's your world. I'm living in it. Who cares? Right? So we go to Wild Wings. We get to the restaurant, and first thing I notice is that
Buffalo Wild Wings an acceptable date for you, or are you not going if he says Wild Wings? Just curious.
This is not the same person I was talking to. She was using old photos, right? Whatever. Let's carry on.
How old
Things
are we
could
talking?
change. Who knows?
Yeah?
It's an adventure at this point.
Yeah.
The waitress comes, hey, what can I get you guys? I go, I would like 2 pounds of wings, which that's wild. That's quite a bit for a
2
first
pounds
date.
is a lot.
And a beer, right? Yeah. She goes to the girl, what can I get you? And she says, I would like a bean burrito. That's even more wild, I think. But whatever.
Got
it's
a
your
wing
world.
spot.
I'm just living in it. So, right off the bat, conversation, it's not great. We're having a bad date. We're clearly having a bad date. But whatever. I'm having some wings. She's having a bean burrito. Who cares? It's just a bad date. But then, halfway through the bean burrito, she like flags down the waitress. And I'm like, oh shit, shit's about to go down. She might not like this burrito. And the waitress comes. She's like, hey, like, is everything okay? And the girl goes, yeah, I'd like to order a second bean burrito. The waitress looks at me like, can I get you anything? And I was like, I have 2 pounds of wings here. I'm good. I'm not that hungry. So the waitress goes, and now the only thing in my mind, I didn't even address it out loud. I just, in my mind, was like, wow, she is starving, this poor thing, to order a second bean burrito. Anyways, waitress comes, gives her the other burrito on a plate. And we're still trudging along this terrible conversation that's happening. I just want the date to end. But now I'm thinking in my head, God damn it, like I have to sit through a second bean burrito, right? I finish my wings, she finishes the burrito, we're just kind of like chilling there, and the waitress comes and goes like, okay, like we thinking dessert or something? And I was like, you think dessert? Like we were gonna have dessert after all this? But she hasn't even cracked the second bean burrito. And the girl goes, yeah, we'll just get the bill. And I'm like, what do you mean get the bill? You still got to eat. But I didn't say that out loud. I said that in my head. Waitress comes with the bill. I pay it because, I'm the guy. It's fine. I pay the bill. And the girl goes, yeah, can I get a takeout container? A takeout container. Waitress comes, gives her the container. We go. So I walk her to like wherever the hell she had to go. And I'm just like, well, thanks for like coming out, I guess. And the girl goes, yeah, and like, thanks for dinner. And then lifts like the box and she's like, and thanks for lunch tomorrow. And then just walked away. Just walked away. This was like well over like 12 years ago. I still think about that. Like,
no way, it was 12 years ago.
Was
Tinder even around 12 years ago? I'm curious, what do you guys think about that? Because I have some opinions on that, and I think that's very interesting. Now, I agree. If you ask a girl out on a date, obviously, like, it's like saying, hey, let's do something, my treat. You don't say my treat and then expect the other person to pay. That's kind of the point of my treat. So I get that part. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that anyone should get taken advantage of because no one likes to feel taken advantage of. So I do wonder, like, when you get to a point where you realize that the date is just going like trash, what becomes like inappropriate in terms of like, hey, we're clearly not going to do this again, so why are we even pretending? Versus, just being like, I just want to take advantage of this and get as much as I possibly can out of this, I guess it's just one of those things where I guess as a man, you just have to be able to just take it on the chin. But it's okay, I'm going to sound like a broken record. You're going to hear me in your dreams, in your sleep, in your bed, in your shower. It's another reason why I honestly just advise you stay away from dating apps. Because one of the best ways to sniff out if you're actually having some sort of chemistry with a person is to like meet them first somewhere, at least have some sort of conversation with them. Then you can feel vibes out a lot better than meeting them for the first time on the date. You understand what I mean? Like that same chemistry, or I guess we could say lack of chemistry that he felt with her on the date. I'm sure if he met her out somewhere first, he would have felt that same lack of chemistry. They would have never even gotten themselves to the date, which is why I think one of the best ways to vet people is to meet them somewhere in person, somehow beforehand, before you get on the date, because then the vibe that you feel that first time is super, just by chance with no pressure. Then when you get to the date, you can at least ensure there will be a similar vibe and something to go off of. That's why the dating apps can be such a horrible first date, because you don't have anything to go off of in terms of your chemistry with someone aside from maybe the messages you'll send back and forth and a couple of their pictures. Someone says a bean burrito is such a great message. Oh, this is another question I have for you all, because I heard this the other day and it played on a video. I can't remember what the creator's name was, but basically the video said a guy was saying, oh, if you really want to get a sense of if a woman is feeling you or not, or if she's gonna like sleep with you after the date or not, gauge how much food she chooses to eat. Because if she's eating a lot on the date, there's no chance you're getting anything afterwards. Versus if she's, trying to like be very picky with what she eats and not try to, do too much, then you have a lot better chance of possibly sleeping with her afterwards. Let me know in the chat if you think that that's true or not, because I actually am kind of curious about that. Because when he said it and he described it, it actually kind of made a little bit of sense to me, because you wouldn't want to be like bloated. If you went on a date and you actually were like feeling a guy and you were actually thinking about the possibility of sleeping with him, would you still eat a lot on the date, or like actually be full? Or would you purposely be like, I'm not trying to be full at all. Like, I'm trying to be a skinny mini. I don't want to have my belly full. I'm curious. I see some people say true, right? Yep, no pineapples. It's weird, but it makes sense. Okay, right? I'll take it to go. I'll eat it later. When I was on dates with this guy I really liked, but I just couldn't eat, I was so nervous. I like to save room in my tummy, burps and gas. Okay. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. Okay, it doesn't matter, I guess. If I avoid coffee, dairy, okay. I always eat just a libido, just a little on the day. I thought you said my libido on the day. I love to eat. We both gonna be farting? Interesting. If you're a foodie, you're eating regardless. I mean, I get it both ways. I get it both ways. I get it both ways, to be honest. Like, I could see it going both ways. Let me see. I had a couple other ones here that I wanted us to watch together. Wait, what just happened to that one over there? Let's see here. These I also wanted us to see.
Why does mom gotta ask 3 times for y'all to do something and dad only has to ask once?
You only have to ask one because you yell at us the first time and we do it right away. And then with mama, she says it nice 2 times and then she gets
get frustrated on the third
yeah.
time. You're right.
Yeah.
Baby, what I want you to do, imagine the kids are here. I want you to tell them 3 things. 1, go put on your shoes, brush your teeth, we need to go to school. And then I'm gonna say it. I want you guys to see why we're seen as the villain.
Ladies, it's time to go to school. Let's brush our teeth, get our shoes on. Don't forget the socks.
Okay, my turn. Nala, Naya, get your shoes on, go brush your teeth. Let's go. We need to get ready for school. We need to go now. Why are you laughing? Because you see what I'm saying? Do y'all see the difference? Hers sounds like an option. Very demure. Ladies, come on, ladies. Let's get ready for school. If y'all don't get the fuck up so we can get to school.
This morning I heard you yelling at them. I'm like, why are you
I'm
yelling?
not yelling at them. It's not yelling.
It sounded like yelling. Like, we're going. You're rushing us out the door.
Because we need to get to school.
Why does mom gotta ask 3 times?
I think this is actually a perfect example of why we need both parents, right? I think there's a place for both ways of going about things, right? Sometimes you need the softness of mom, the suggestion of mom, the soft parenting of mom. Soft parent, gentle parenting of mom. And sometimes you need the sternness of dad, who's just going to tell you how it is. He's not going to sugarcoat stuff. He's going to be brutally honest. He's going to, just make it kind of be like a drill sergeant sometimes. I think children need both. I think a healthy family needs both. I don't think there's anything wrong with dynamics like this. I think it's actually great. That's why I think one of the best realizations you can make is that getting into a good relationship is not about finding someone who is exactly like you. You actually want someone who is aligned with you in what you want for yourself in your future in terms of like life and a family. But you also want someone who's a little bit different in their approach to life, a little bit different in the way they talk, walk, and go about things, even their interests, because it can contrast you and create for a really interesting and awesome dynamic. It doesn't have to be we're the same on everything, do everything the same.
And to the girl that fumbled him, you did your big win. Thank you, because I got him. He ain't going nowhere. Thank you very much. And to the girl that fumbled him, you did your big win. Thank you, because I got him. He ain't going nowhere. Thank you very much.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's interesting. Interesting. I guess I hope she didn't get someone else's man by, meeting him while he was still having a girlfriend. Or I don't agree with that. You guys will see that from me a lot. We always deal with married men situations in the chat. You guys, I don't like that. I don't like that. Someone said those nails are ick. You guys don't like those nails?
And to the girl that fumbled him.
Is it too long? Is that too long? I don't know what's too long for girls these days. Me, I'm a simple guy. I just like French tips. I don't like it too long. You know what I mean? Nice, clean, white French tips. Ooh, that hits. But everyone different. Don't matter what I think. All right, let's hop into our next section of the day, chat. Very, 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 very amazing time. Very, 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 very awesome time. It's a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to cry. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. Chat. Should I do it loud or should I do it quiet? Loud or quiet? Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. Don't look nowhere else in your entire home. If you still don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. Discord time. Yeah, okay. All right, chat, enough silliness. Let's hop into our Discord section of the show. For those of you who have no idea what that was about, Discord time is essentially where all the amazing members of the Players Club community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their situationship or relationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, I'm going to explain to you the 3 different ways in which you can submit your question to me real quick. The first way is by going into our free section of our Players Club community. You can access that by going into the link in my bio if you're watching this on TikTok. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go into the description, click where it says Players Club Discord. And then when you hop in our Discord, go into the relationship advice forum, and then you can drop your question and make sure you format it the same way everyone else's question is formatted. Now, you'll see here all of these different questions that are highlighted are questions that I haven't yet gotten to, okay? Because there's a lot of questions. And I'm only one human being. So that means if you ask your question to me today in our Players Club Discord, our free section, it will take me quite a while to get to your question. I'll just be honest with you, like maybe a couple of weeks, because there's a lot here. Now, if you're someone who's very impatient and you don't want to wait that long to get your question answered, there's another option for you to send in your question that doesn't have to make you wait that long. This way is through our premium Discord relationship advice forum. Now, the way that this works is it's like a skip the line pass at a theme park. These people in this section get a chance to get their question answered before I go in the free section. So when your question is here, you don't have to wait all that time no matter when you send it in, okay? Now, the only way you're allowed to put your question in the premium section is if you first go to the link in my bio if you're watching this on TikTok, or in my description if you're watching this on YouTube, click where it says Premium Relationship Discord Advice, and then it'll prompt you to donate to the show. It'll also prompt you to put in the title of your question and your Discord username. When you send in your donation with the title of your question and your Discord username, I'll get a notification on my phone that shows your donation and shows that that's you and your question. Then I'll be able to confirm your question is supposed to be in here in order to keep it fair for all the other amazing people who are waiting their turn in the Discord free section, right? Now, the third way to submit your question to me is for those of you who want to ask me a question, but you're too, I guess, shy or don't want your business out there in front of everyone to see. So you want to ask me a question and get my advice or perspective without it being read out on the show. That's fine. you can click this link. It's like a hotline where you can ask me anytime a question personally by clicking this link. It's in the Discord. It's also in link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. It's where it says private relationship advice. You click it, you type out your question, as many paragraphs as you want. You submit it to me. When you submit it to me, I respond with the voice message. You'll know it's my voice because you hear my voice. And I'll break down your situation, give you some advice, and give you some perspective. My answers are usually ranging from 8 to 10 minutes long for most questions. Sometimes if your question's really detailed or has a lot of parts, it'll be like 15, 20 minutes. There's some that are even 30 sometimes, I'll be honest with you. So it all depends on how much detail is in your question, but I try my best to be very comprehensive in my analysis of your situation, okay? Now, let's hop into our first question of the day here. It's a brotherly, sisterly love. I'll try and also read the chat because I know there were a few that were skipped, and I saw Girly Girl say that I skipped one of hers in the free section, so we'll see if we can find that one as well, all right? Let's hop into our first premium question here. This one comes from Moonlight, who says, how to behave in intimate text messages when getting to know a guy early on. Hurley. Hello, Thompson. I really appreciate your content. You've helped me to improve my behavior around men in many situations, but regarding this topic, I have reached an uncertainty again. So 3 weeks ago, I got to know a guy from my city on SM. What is SM? Chat, what does SM stand for? And since then, he's starting his own business and has a lot to do. We've only texted so far. We both said we want only dating in a serious way, okay? Oh, on social media, sorry. Sometimes you guys abbreviate stuff that I'm not used to people abbreviating, so that's why it doesn't compute in my head. He increasingly, so she met on social media, okay. Now, okay. He increasingly texted me that he was crazy about me and my look and often wanted photos, just normal ones. But then he started writing more intimate things, which was uncomfortable for me since we've never met before. Should have been uncomfortable for you when he was saying he's crazy about you as well. The first time, I left the intimate conversation without saying something and posted a pic of the gym in the morning. Whereupon he texted me and asked if everything was okay because I'm reacting differently, coldly. Only because he asked me, I explained to him that I don't like writing about intimate things early on. His answer was just, oh, okay. And he wrote about other things. But on other days, he brought up the topic again with the excuse that I was too attractive. And one day, it annoyed me so much that I reacted a little bit mean. Why? If it's your boundary, then it's your boundary. Why are you apologizing for that? So I asked him for so long, what else he wanted to do with me until I just wrote, okay. Why would you go back and forth with him? Then he became insecure and asked if it wasn't good. What? Then I wrote, like I said before, I'm not interested in talking about these things when we're not even close to that level. He answered why. I kept asking, and I said I just wanted to know how far he would go. Sorry, I'm trying to compute why you're even going back and forth with him. I'm trying to understand why you would even go back and forth with him like this. His answer, okay, again. And I said, well, what? And I said, well, that's really sad. I'm going to sleep. Good night. He wrote good night too. Since then, 2 days, neither of us have reached out, and I think he doesn't know how to behave anymore. Can you please tell me how to handle intimate topics at the beginning if you're trying to build something serious? Should I allow it to happen to a certain extent? Should I get in touch with him to show him that I'm still interested in him, or should I wait to see if he texts me again? Thanks a lot. Okay, no. So whenever a guy is approaching you in a way where you don't appreciate the approach or you don't welcome the approach, the best response is no response. Anytime you give guys energy by responding to them in any capacity, they assume that you don't really, this is weird about guys. When you respond to them or you give them energy, they assume that it's not that you really don't like it. They just need to push a little bit more. That's honestly how some guys will go about, not every guy, but that's how some guys will go about it, right? They're not good at reading the signs. So the reason I say that is if it really is not working for you, the only way to get him to change his behavior, so to speak, is to literally not respond to him until he shows you the changed behavior, right? I'll give you another example of that from the opposite sense. Like, for example, there was a time where someone, a while ago, where someone was messaging me like stuff, and she said something like really disrespectful to me in the message, and I just didn't respond. Like, I didn't say, please apologize to me, please change the way you said this, please do this, please do that. I just literally just didn't respond. And then the person corrected their behavior because they realized that I probably wasn't responding for a reason. And then when they apologized for the behavior, then I responded again. Okay, it was that simple. Usually, if someone actually cares enough, they'll be able to put two and two together as to why they're not getting any more energy from you, and they'll make a change. Or they'll choose not to make a change, not address it, in which case, then don't address them either. Just leave them be, right? It's very simple like that. Now, as it relates to intimate topics, if it's something you don't feel comfortable with, then you don't feel comfortable with it. I'm not going to be here to tell you that you should feel comfortable with something that you don't feel comfortable with. So if that's your boundary and you don't want to be discussing that stuff over the phone, then that's your boundary and you don't discuss that stuff over the phone. If he feels like he wants to do it a different way, then great. He can go talk to a different woman. And if he's going to try to continue to do that with you, then you don't dignify that with the response. You don't keep explaining yourself over and over again, because he's going to think that that means that he can break you on that boundary, which that shouldn't be the case, right? It should just be, hey, you know what to expect from me. It's either take it or leave it. If it doesn't work for you, go find someone else to talk to, but it won't be me. And if he keeps messaging you to the point where it gets uncomfortable or annoying for you, then just block him. Very simple, okay? All right, let's hop into our next question. Why does it do that? Why does it do that like that? Hold on. Okay, this is our next question. This one comes from A. It kind of, what's the full name here? No, it just says A. Different political views. I'm a 24-year-old female. He is a 25-year-old male. I've been on 3 dates with this guy, and things have gone well. I think he is obsessed with me, but in a good way. Being very intentional, planning dates, always messaging me and thanking me for the date. On our last date, on a walk, we started talking about politics. I asked it very generically and casually as to not indicate any of my views. He stated, I voted for women's rights and human rights. Wait, what? What country do you live in? Don't we all kind of vote for that? Which I felt very alienating. Sorry, what? I voted for women's rights and human rights? How does that make, what is alienating about that? I didn't say anything to indicate this to him. I just kept the convo going. Okay. Sorry, chat. Am I misreading that? So he stated he voted for women's rights and human rights. What about that feels? I'm a little bit stumped here. I'm not understanding so far how that's alienating. As I was reflecting later on why I felt that way, I think it was because guys I have interacted with in the past that have said similar things have gone on to be very hypocritical and sexist. Okay, so you don't have a problem with him like voting for women's rights and human rights. You just have a problem with the experience you've had with guys who have similar rhetoric. Okay. Okay. I also have found that many, not all, but a lot of people that I've interacted with that have said very generic pro-woman, pro-human rights statements like that lack critical depth to their opinion and want to signal that they're a good person by just saying they voted a certain direction. He also said his family is very left. Okay. I realized that that is my past experience, so I'm trying not to put that on him and see something different, but it's hard. On face value, what he said is not terrible, and I do generally agree with it. However, the way he said it indicated to me and made me feel like that he felt that non-liberal people were in essence wrong. Okay? Democrat equals correct way to vote. Republican equals wrong way to vote. One thing I worry about that our politics will be too different. The bigger thing I worry about in the immediate term is how I will bring up this to him and not get emotional. Although I am open to learning new things and changing my opinion as I grow as a person, my current political opinion is very rooted in my personal values and the values of my family. Immigrant family, come to America to make something of yourself, pro-entrepreneurship and innovation, etc. If I talk too much about it, I will cry not out of sadness, but optimism and being passionate. You could say that I'm very patriotic and values lean more conservative fiscally with liberal social values. I don't know how to bring this up to him, not offend him, not trigger myself, feel gaslighted, even though I'm not being gaslit, start crying. Oh gosh. Part of me wanted to cut it off just so I didn't have to have this confrontation, but I think it may be good for my personal growth. I think so too. I don't want to say things to have him change his opinion and tell me that he believes the same thing as me just to please me. How can I identify if this is going to be a deal breaker with this guy or not? Thank you. You help so much. Also, for timing context, this happened about a week ago and I have been on vacation this week, so I have been sporadically texting him random convos about my trip. I haven't mentioned at all that this political stuff bothered me. Okay, here's the thing, A. The reality of the situation is if this was like a random, like casual friend that you just saw at the bar or something, it doesn't really matter, right? But obviously if you're going to be in a romantic relationship with someone, you're going to have to be aligned in something like politics. Even if it's different, there has to be an understanding of like, we accept each other for what we view and there's no disrespect or no, oh, you're less than me or whatever the case may be, right? It can work in either sense of the word. But that requires a conversation and an open and honest conversation because this is not something that just goes away if you stop addressing it. So you're obviously going to have a conversation about if your political views are important to you and the way you stand and the way you see things is important to you. That's a conversation you're going to have. If you feel like crying when you have that conversation, so be it, because it's an important conversation to have either way. That conversation is going to give you clarity on whether you can be together with that person or whether you can't be together with that person. And you need to have that answer. The worst way, I'll tell you this, the worst way to go about this is to prolong this conversation. If it makes you uncomfortable because you haven't had it yet, you just, like you said, sporadically talk to him until you can have the conversation. But the next time you hang out with him, it should be for the purpose of having this conversation, because this is never not going to be on your mind until you have this conversation. Right? And it could go either way. And I want you to accept whichever way it goes. Meaning it could go the first way, which is, let's say you have this conversation and it's really horrible. You cry, you're hysterical. He's upset at you. He's mad. Everyone's mad. And you guys break up afterwards. Cool. At least you got your answer. You got your clarity and you can move forward. The other scenario is that you guys have the conversation. There's an understanding. You can work with each other and you're not as misaligned as you thought. And the relationship can go on. Cool. Either way, I want you to accept that having this conversation will bring you the clarity you need to be able to move forward. Without having this conversation, you will not be able to properly move forward. Okay. The other thing that I want you, like you mentioned yourself, for your personal growth, it'll be good to be able to like talk about things that you're going to have to talk about with anyone that you get into a relationship with, right? Like you're going to eventually have to realize through conversation and opinion and perspective and questions, whether you're aligned with someone politically or not. Like that's going to be a realization you have to have. So if every time you have this conversation with someone, you start crying and you're like really hysterical and really upset, that's not going to work. I'm not saying you can't be emotional and you can't be passionate, but what I'm saying is like that can't be like a place where you're like so scared to like touch on because you're so scared of like having an opinion about it, or you're so scared that that other person's opinion will different from yours, that you never have the conversation. Because like I said, that's only going to prolong the pain and prolong the issue and the problem, which is going to still be a problem, if not a worse problem down the line. So anytime you have a really big issue that you know is very, very important and you identify it's very important for you, those should always be the first conversations that you have with someone, especially when you have a less attachment to them, right? You're only on one date with that person, or you've only gone on 2 dates. Have those conversations early, because that will be the easiest to walk away from them if it's not aligned. When it'll be the hardest to walk away from them is when you're realizing you're not aligned 2 years into the relationship because you've been avoiding that conversation the entire time, okay? So, I want you to embrace this. Embrace the fact you're going to cry. Embrace the fact you might be hysterical. Embrace the fact that you guys might break up after this, because at least On top of that, you can embrace the fact that the one thing you know you'll have either way is clarity. And clarity will always benefit you, because 1 year down the line, you'll be a happier version of yourself if you got clarity and then you were able to move forward and find someone who you were aligned with than you would be if you never got clarity and you just continued on with this, continuing to have this problem in 1 year. But now you're 1 year invested in a guy who you might not be aligned with. You understand what I mean? Right? Clarity is very important for you. All right. We have one more premium question here, so let's read this one out. Princess in 4D, update and next steps. All right. I wanted to give it some time before providing an update and asking a few questions. I'll skip the details since I know you're great at recalling information. We left off with me deciding whether or not to give Ghanaian man a chance. He and I spoke. Sorry, let me just give you guys a brief summary. So Princess in 4D was dating a Ghanaian man, and this Ghanaian man essentially had a situation where his mom required surgery. In the process of his mom requiring surgery, this Ghanaian man had to pay for the surgery. So he had to pick up extra shifts at work and do more work. So he had to in order to pay for that, make money to pay for it. In the process of that, he had obviously less time to be with her, talk to her. He was also more tired. He also lives 4 hours away from Princess in 4D. So it just created a scenario in which it was very hard to see each other. He was flopping on dates a lot, like just not holding up his word to the date and having to reschedule a lot. It was starting to become frustrating for Princess in 4D. And then he apologized for that. And he's been trying to make this work. Okay. So that's where we're at now. He and I spoke, and ultimately I decided I would. However, it's now been an additional 3 weeks and I haven't seen him at all, totaling 2 months since I last saw him. Add to that, our communication has been inconsistent. Some days we talk on the phone and other days not so much. He went from texting back right away to now taking 3+ hours to respond. To be honest, this past week, there are a few days we basically don't talk. For instance, today, as of right now, I haven't heard from him. When we do text, it's very boring and mundane. Almost feels robotic and repetitive. How are you? How is work? How are your studies? Etc. Blah, 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 blah. I'd rather calls, and he knows this, but he hasn't called. And obviously, I know better than a call first. None of this would bother me so much if we were actually setting up, a date. However, he isn't even working. Wait, what? So now I'm beginning to wonder what he's doing all day. What is he doing all day? Ironically, when he was working, he was more responsive. Why do you think this is, though? Still, I try not to let it get to me too much and just focus on the things I have going on for myself. Let me take a drink of water. I should also mention that he is not currently working as a software engineer. Oh, yeah, that was from your last message. He was a delivery driver, but got laid off. Wait, that's his job this whole time? So I think you were saying that he was studying. You were inspiring him to study to become a software engineer. Okay, that's totally different. That's very different. Right now, he's unemployed and studying to become a software engineer or transition into cybersecurity. He seems to be taking it seriously and staying on top of his studies. However, the path he chooses depends on whether or not he gets married and receives a green card. How does that work? How would the path he chooses depend on that? Because assuming he chooses a job in which his employer will supply him with a green card, what the cybersecurity would require him to be a U.S. citizen, and he's here on visa for another 2 years. So then the option becomes clear: become a software engineer, in which you can get a visa, right? If that's the case. I mean, that seems like the simple answer. On another note, I still believe he has the right mindset to eventually become a good husband and man. But lately, I've been feeling like I'm settling. I can't ask him for anything, and when I do, I feel guilty for having those desires. In the past, my exes were able to step up, support me, and provide. Oh, you're talking about like financially. I've always been really spoiled in my relationships. These past couple of weeks, I've been going back and forth about whether I should let him go for good. I keep telling myself I might be walking away from a good man who just doesn't have it all together yet. But then I wonder, am I settling for potential? And if he does eventually make it, who's to say he'll choose me in the end? That's very fair. And as it stands, we will be dating for 4 months, and I haven't met any of his friends or family. To his credit, he tried to get me to talk to his friend over the phone, but his friend is in Ghana and our schedules have been off. His birthday is coming up on the 21st. I had plans in mind for him that I previously mentioned to you, but I honestly don't want to go overboard, especially considering that he hasn't taken me out since February 4th. I'm aware that men can have fragile egos, and I don't want to emasculate him by doing too much when he can't afford to buy me a drink from Starbucks right now. LOL. LOL. Honestly, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards letting him go. He's supposed to take me to my doctor's appointment on the 15th, and I was thinking of having the conversation and then potentially ending things. Please let me know your thoughts. I really do appreciate your guidance, especially since I know I can be quick to let people go. I really want to make sure I'm making the right decision. If I should leave, what steps can I take to stimulate him to step up? Or sorry, if I shouldn't leave, sorry. What steps do I take to stimulate him to step up more or better communication? If we aren't going to see each other, at least the least we can do is have better communication. Okay, great question, Princess and 4D. So what I'll say to you is I want this date, the 15th. I'm assuming that you're talking about the 15th of April. I want this to come before you make your decision. And I want your conversation with him to be the deciding factor. What I mean by that is when you see him on the 15th, hopefully there's enough time in the day. I mean, you said he's not working. So hopefully there's enough time in the day that even after the doctor's appointment, you guys can have like a proper like sit down conversation. I'm talking like go somewhere private, or if you're going to sit in the car or whatever the case may be, grab a snack, grab your water bottle, and let's have a conversation to clear the air. I want you to ask him a lot of very important questions. You need to get an understanding. Where is he at now mentally? Okay. Like what's going on with him? I don't just mean like what's going on with him, like, oh, how are you doing at school? Blah, 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 stupid stuff. I'm talking about like what's going on with him mentally. Like how is you and your family? What's your family relationship right now? What's your family dynamic right now? I don't know if he's an oldest child or not. Is he feeling some sort of pressure right now? Like how is this situation with his mom's surgery affecting him mentally? Right? Get an honest answer about that, because we need to figure out the root of this problem and why things are changing. So that's number one. Then you need to get an understanding of like, okay, this plan of yours, you say you're either choosing between cybersecurity and you're choosing between, a software engineering. One, you need to be a U.S. citizen. The other one, you need to, you can get your green card and be here. What are you leaning towards? Right? What is going to be the best, choice for you, the best pathway for you? I'm not saying you give him that answer. I'm saying you need to see if he has that answer, because if he's still like, oh, well, I'm kind of deciding between one of the two and the two and the three, and I don't know which one I want to go. That's not going to work. Okay. So these are part of the things that I want you to get your answer on. So to know if it's just a waste of your time, right? Because, those two options aren't bad options, but it's worrying me that you're saying that he's still like considering what one he should go for, because every day that goes by and he's like, which one should I do? What one should I go for? It's not a commitment in one place, right? So you can't create a plan if you don't have a commitment to doing one thing. So if he wants to do cybersecurity and he wants to get his US citizenship, then that should be his commitment in that place, and just do that, right? If he wants to become a software engineer and that's where he wants to commit, then he commits and he does that, because then he can at least come up with a timeline of how long it will take him to get to where he wants to be and the course of actions required to get to that destination. Until he decides that, like, everything is kind of like up in the air. That's my only concern. Well, that's one of my concerns here, right? This up in the air stuff doesn't allow him to move forward in any one positive direction. It just keeps him in limbo where he's like, maybe one day it's this, and maybe one day it's that, and maybe one thing it's a different thing. Okay, so the answer of whether or not he can come up with some sort of clear direction of what he wants to be doing and where he wants to be going will also determine whether or not you continue this, right? Because the longer he's in limbo, the longer you're going to be in this limbo state, right? Nothing wrong with his mom being in surgery. Nothing wrong with him. For now, he's a delivery driver and he has a different plan for himself in the future. But then let's execute on that plan and let's have a destination. Not, could be cybersecurity, could be software engineering. I don't know. I'm still debating. Well, debate. And if you're going to debate, come up with a timeline in which you'll find your answer and then go in that direction. Oh boy, maybe I'm projecting a little bit. I really, 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 really dislike when people can't just make a decision. I really dislike. I don't mind what decision people choose to make. I just really dislike when people can't make one and can't decide like for themselves. Okay, even if I'm not sure yet, this is how long it will take me to make a decision. And this is what factors need to go into me making the decision, because I can't help you if you don't make a decision. I can't support you if you don't make a decision. I can't figure out how to be of an aid to you emotionally or spiritually or mentally if you don't know what direction you're going to go to, right? Like, I don't even know you. I might be able to help you get to where you want to be. But if you don't know where you want to be or what direction you're going in, then I don't know how to help you or if I even can. I hate that so much. So I'm saying that to say for you, it's got to be the same thing. You've got to be like, look, if you either can't make a decision on where you want to be going, how you want to do this and how you want to get this done, then I can't help you here, right? And that should be the line that you draw. If after speaking to him, you still feel like everything is up in the air and there's a lot of undecideds and uncertainty for him, after seeing him in person and letting him just speak on where he's at mentally, physically, emotionally, career-wise, financially, if everything is up in the air and there's no set plan or destination that's going to be executed, then you say, look, I appreciate everything you said and I appreciate having this conversation with you, but based on what you told me, I just don't think that we're in a place where we can be in a relationship, because I don't have a problem with you figuring things out and trying to get to where you want to go, but it doesn't seem like you have an actual plan. It just seems like you're continuously deciding and in limbo, and I can't sit around while you're in limbo deciding what you want to do. So maybe if you get to a point where you have decisions that you've made and you're executing on those decisions, maybe we can have a discussion sometime in the future. But as of now, I can't be in a relationship with someone who's just in limbo with no plan and nothing to execute on, right? So that has to be your approach to this last conversation. And you're going to allow his answers to determine whether it's going to be your last one or whether you can continue going, right? Because with a plan, then you guys can collaborate on how that plan will look for your relationship, right? Once he gets his personal plan said to you and spelled out to you and his, steps forward for himself, then you guys can start organizing your relationship around that personal plan. Otherwise, there will be no way to organize anything for you two when he doesn't even have his own clear personal plan, okay? Someone said, do that over the phone? Absolutely not. Princess and 4D, do not do any of this over the phone. If you do it over the phone, you won't get the clarity or answers that you need. Wait till the 15th when you see him in person. That way, there's no excuses. No one can run. You guys have time for each other. You're here to see each other. And now you get every answer that you could possibly want in this one conversation. That way, when you make your decision, that your decision is justified because you don't have any more questions, okay? Let's go down here. Now, I know that I skipped a few. I've seen girly girls say that I skipped hers, but I see your question here, 20 and unrelated under 20 leave. I don't see any more in the, because remember, this is in context of the oldest questions. So unless you have something that I'm missing here, it seems like I've done your oldest question here. If I have anyone that you have asked recently, then it's probably I haven't gotten to it yet, right? Because I'm doing this in a particular order. All right, so we have an LP Baby question here, which says pregunta. Pregunta means question, right? Hola, Thompson. Are there any traps in your complete pineapple timeline that you forgot to mention in your video, like passive activities? Does going to a museum together, play, going to those wine and sip and paint classes count as passive activities? No, museum doesn't count as a passive activity. You're walking around. Obviously, you're looking at paintings. That's fine. A play, not as much, because a play is a little bit more interactive. You're in a crowd. You're not going to be able to do things to someone in a play. The reason I don't like the movies is because you can go to a movie which is old and horrible and there'll be nobody in the movie theater and it's like being in private. You know what I mean? Or there's very little people, right? So it kind of defeats the purpose. I don't like that for you, right? It can create a scenario where it's the same thing as watching Netflix at his house. Going to those wine and slash sip and paint and sip classes, no, those aren't passive activities. What are some casual, creative, low-cost ways to get to know our date guy besides lunch slash a dinner date? You just mentioned a bunch, right? The museum, an art gallery, a play doesn't cost that much. Like you just mentioned them. You can go mini golfing as well. An arcade is nice fun. You guys can be a little bit competitive and have a good time in kind of like a low pressure environment. You could go, I'm trying to think, depending on where you live, there even is like Top Golf. Is that Top Golf? The one where you're like on the stage thing? And you go bowling as well, right? There's lots of different like low cost ways to go out on a date, have a little bit of fun. You go go-karting, even though you're not talking to each other doing the go-karting, different things that you could do like that. Those are all awesome, right? My only ones that I want you to avoid, obviously going over to his house, an escape room. I love those. My best perfect first date would be an escape room. To be honest with you, I don't know why I even say that, because I like to see how people think, how they process information. For me personally, an escape room tells me if we're going to be able to collaborate to solve problems together. Because if your mind works in a way where you're able to fill in the gaps of my thought process with yours, and I can tell that you'll be like an asset to me in terms of like being able to like come up with ideas that I never thought of, I'm instantly horned up. Now my PP standing straight up, okay? Because my mind's in tune. But that's just me. Everyone's a little bit different. So, but yeah, that's another example of something that would probably work in terms of like getting to know someone and building your relationship with them and building some rapport with them, right? Someone says, I hate escape rooms. They are not fun for me. I did them twice. Everyone's a little bit different. Me, I like to see how someone solves problems and how they go through the thought process. Because for me, I hate going on a date and feeling like we just talk, like your only interest is in looking pretty. That's not gonna work for me, but that's just me personally. Okay, let's hop into our next question here. Let's see here. Okay, so we did. Oh, wait, yeah, we did this one. We did this one. So this one we'll save for later. This one we did, right? This one was Ella, my umbrella, Alyssa. Yeah, this one was the YouTuber. You changed your name to Alyssa. Alyssa, you should let me know who you are as a YouTuber. Pulled back. Did I do this too much? Oh, I think I was. Let me see here. I wrote a question a few days ago with an update. Okay, question is YouTuber. So basically. Oh yeah, no, we did that one. Okay, so this is Alyssa's one that we didn't do. Okay, Miss YouTuber. Okay, my executive entertainment job and growing concerns. Hi Thompson, I love you so much. I love you too. I've got a seriously bizarre work story that's been weighing on me. Okay, and I need to get it off my chest. I used to be a personal logistics coordinator for a rather prominent gentleman. Let's call him Charlie. Entertainment. Okay. He's the kind of guy who lives in a world of private jets, sprawling estates, and events that would make Gatsby blush. This sounds very... What, Patty? My days were a whirlwind of scheduling, coordinating, traveling, and managing his, shall we say, extracurricular activities. Are you talking about Diddy? You talking about Diddy? What are you trying to say here? His extracurricular act. You talking about Diddy? Okay. At first, it seemed like a dream job. I was rubbing shoulders with the elite, experiencing a lifestyle most people only see in movies. I was dealing with high-end catering and booking very exotic locations for events. Then things started to take a turn. The requests became increasingly specific, like baby oil. I was asked to source rare and unusual items for custom-made silk ropes to obscure musical instruments. He would say things like, make sure the ambiance is correct and the correct fabrics are present. I thought this was just a normal request of a very wealthy person. This actually sounds a lot like Diddy. And then there were sudden and intense focus on personal care products, specifically baby. Okay, come on. Okay. Is this a serious message or no? Come on. Like, be so for real. Like, come on, yo. Like, don't play around with me, yo. Come on, yo. Chat. come on, yo. Like, don't be playing around with me. Like, come on, yo. I started noticing an unusual amount of it. At first, it was a few bottles here and there, tucked away in his gym bag or his travel kit. Then it became a full-blown procurement mission. Okay. I was ordering cases of this stuff in various sizes and brands. I remember thinking to myself, does this man bathe in this stuff? Yeah. First, there was baby oil, like so. Like so much baby oil. I'd find half empty bottles tucked into the most random places. The glove compartment of his car, behind the potted plants in the foyer, even inside the ice. So stupid. So stupid. I thought maybe he had really dry skin. Then he started asking me to order more, like cases of the stuff. The private gatherings also escalated, then went from elegant Sawyers to something else entirely. The music got louder and the lighting got dimmer, and the guest list became increasingly youthful. There was a lot of enthusiastic noise and very specific requests about soundproofing. He would say things like, make sure there was no outside noise. I started to become very uncomfortable. Then there were the freak-offs. Okay. Chat, like, come on, chat. All right, like let's get for real, chat. Like, let's put serious questions in here. I'm not doing this with you. I'm not doing this with you. Like, come on, freak offs. Yeah, freak offs. Yeah. What is the obsession with Diddy? Like, I get like, what is the whatever. Alyssa, I might have to leave you to deal with your Diddy. If you had this job, then your boss is in jail. What's the concern? If you have a real concern, you don't be talking to me on my channel. Go talk to the authorities. That's where you need to take your concerns, not to me. If it's got to do with Diddy, you can't be talking to me about Diddy. Got to talk to your lawyer about Diddy. I'm not the guy. All right, let's hop into our next real question. Okay. Oh, I think this is the. Wait. Let's see what here. Okay, so that was the LP Baby one. Your daddy, Lotus. Oh, is this the girly girl one? What is going on here? See, this is why I don't like my thing. My thing be doing a weird thing where sometimes it doesn't show messages. Sometimes it's weird. Meeting my family. So this is the girly girl one that we missed. Meeting my family, very big deal and dilemma. I'll make sure to write in the thing that we answer this. All right, I have a dilemma and I need your input on it. My boyfriend and I are together since August of 2024. I am not American. I live here on visa. He is American. I am going to visit my family back home in my home country in Europe for 3 to 4 weeks in June. My boyfriend's birthday is in June 1st, and he's turning 30. Big birthday. I want him to come with me for 1, his birthday, 2, meeting my family. How long have you guys... Okay, August 2024. So, okay, like 8 months, 9 months. Okay. I'm just kind of trying to gauge here what the level of seriousness is. Mind you, from where I am, meeting someone's family is a very big deal. And in my family, we don't just introduce someone just like that. Plus, I am the first girl among my siblings. We are 5 kids, and I am the second oldest. So, again, meeting my parents is a big deal. I have never introduced anyone to my parents. Also, my mom and stepdad are racist. My boyfriend is African American. Though my parents are aware I have a boyfriend and he is black, we never talk about it. I told them once I have a boyfriend, we never mentioned it anymore. Also, my mom doesn't believe in my relationship. She told my little brother that our relationship was just a fling. Now, I still want to have him going to my home country with me. Okay, no, we're not. So you haven't mentioned anything about meeting his parents. You haven't even mentioned anything about him talking about you meeting his parents. So no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this because let him be talking about meeting his parents first before you talk about meeting yours. Because what's going to happen is when you meet his parents, right? When you meet his parents, not when you meet his parents, when he meets your parents, you're going to feel like this is way very serious, right? That's not a bad thing, but it's a bad thing when he doesn't feel that same level of seriousness with you in this relationship with you. And I'm worried that by the time, I don't know if you've slept together yet, I'm assuming you have, but by the time you sleep with him and then you introduce him to your parents, you're going to feel like this is like really happening and this is very serious and you need to like push forward to make this thing work. And I'm worried that he won't have that same feeling towards you and you're going to find yourself begging to continue this relationship when he's not even meeting, the bare minimum here. Okay. Does that make sense? I met his family. Okay. Then that changes a lot. All right. At least we can say that you've met his family already. Okay. He flew me to New Orleans in Thanksgiving. Okay. Thank you for updating us on that. Cause that would have changed a lot for me. Is a big deal. I have never introduced my parents to, it's just a fling. Okay. I could just go there with him without spending time with my family, but then why go there? That's where your family lives. However, I don't see my family enough to sacrifice 1 week of my trip to spend with my boyfriend because he is not ready to meet with my family. He said that himself. Okay. It would be a waste of time. And I need/want to see my family. You should. So, okay. One, I had the idea of paying for his flight ticket as a birthday present. My boyfriend's mom will participate in the flight ticket price because I asked her if she would be willing to help me with it. My friend is telling me that it's a bad idea that we have not been together for that long for me to want to spend this much money for him. Also, because I am a student and I don't make a lot of money yet. But since he did spend money on me for my birthday, he spent up to $600 and he flew me out to visit his family for Thanksgiving. I thought I could do this effort as well. What do you think? What should I do? Here's the thing that you're mentioning though. Like you have to also factor in what does he want? Because if he's saying he is not ready, like you're saying yourself, my boyfriend is not ready to meet with my family. So that's full stop. Why are you trying to force the man to meet your family if he's feeling like he's truly not ready? That's his own prerogative. Like, why are you going above and beyond to pay for things that you're overextending yourself and the man doesn't even want to meet your family? He's not even excited to meet your family. So I get it. You want to reciprocate what he's doing for you, but like if he doesn't want that, then he doesn't want that. You can't force him to want to meet your family if he doesn't. I also want him to come because he wants to. And he wants to meet my family. Am I losing my mind? Oh, yeah. So you're saying you want him to be coming only if he wants to and he wants to meet your family. By asking him and offering the trip, the intentions to put that effort from him is not there anymore. So what should I do? If he doesn't want that, if that's not what he's... Oh, no, he didn't say that. I just assumed. Okay. Let's see here. By asking him and offering the trip, the intentions to put it forth aren't there anymore. So what should I do? I'd rather want him to request visiting my family because he loves me enough for it. I must be the only one who sits back, I think you meant to say, what? I must be the one who sits back and relaxes. That's what you meant to say. As a man, I want him to do the effort. How can I suggest to him that I want him to request to go there to visit family? I pretty much want him to tell me, yeah, I want to go to your home country and meet your family. If he doesn't, I won't do it either. Thoughts on the situation? So have a conversation with him, girly girl. Like have a conversation. So I don't know how much he knows about you visiting your family and things like that. But you can have a conversation with him simply like, hey, yeah, obviously, I'm going to visit my family and things like that. And, I haven't seen my mom in a while and you know how important my family is to me and things like, what do you even feel like in terms of like meeting them? Do you think that that's something that you want to do, or is that something that, you know, like you're just kind of like, it makes you a little bit nervous? Just have an open, like it's your boyfriend. Have an open conversation and then base your answer on whether or not you're going to do it based on how he responds to you. If he tells you, I would love to meet your family. Oh my gosh. Like whenever I get the opportunity to, like, I would do that in a heartbeat. If he seems really excited about that, then you can say, hey, you know, we can set up, you know, you coming with me, and then you can meet my family the same time I go to see them. Full stop, right? Vice versa, if you bring it up as an open conversation and he's like, yeah, you know, I got a thing and that thing requires me to do a thing, the other thing, and the thing is a thinging and everything is thinging, so I have no time to do anything, then you know obviously he's uncomfortable. Then you don't bother bringing up the idea of him coming to visit your family, right? Because obviously he's very uncomfortable with that idea already. Now, the other thing to note here, and let's just have an honest conversation with ourselves here. So you're European, okay? Nothing wrong with that. Your boyfriend is African American. I'm assuming you said you went to go visit him in New Orleans, and so said it. Yeah, if he starts talking Chinese, there's no point. You're funny. So the thing that I want you to notice there is, okay, if your family's racist, okay, if you're saying that yourself, then it's really bad. Okay. What I mean by that is if you know that to the point where you feel like it's necessary to say that, then it's probably that really bad. So what I mean by that is in that scenario, you have to ask yourself an honest question. What is more important to you? And it's going to sound weird, but I really mean this. Your happiness or the happiness of your parents and family? Because you think you're doing something that sounds easy in theory, but you're actually you're setting yourself up for a situation that's very hard. Because it sounds easy to say, yeah, my happiness is the most important thing to me. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I just want to be happy, and I like my man, so I want to be with my man. But you have to understand what that actually means. If your family is racist, it's not just as simple as I'm going to be with my man and they'll just accept that. If your family is racist, they're likely to disown you if you actually follow through with marrying this man. So you have to ask yourself a couple of real questions. If you actually envision yourself marrying this man, are you willing to marry this man at the expense of your relationship with your family? Because that's honestly where that's heading towards. So I just have to be real with you, right? If that sounds daunting to you, painful to you, and that feels like something you wouldn't be able to follow through with, you're wasting your time. You're wasting heaps of your time. And I honestly think before you introduce them to him, I think it would be better to go there and have an in-person serious conversation with your parents about the idea of actually being with him so that you can hear firsthand from them what they actually think about the idea of not just you dating a man who's African American and black, but the idea of you actually marrying a man who's African American and black. And you need to get a sense, the same way I talk about going to, asking a man questions in person to see their real contextual reaction and body language. You need to see what your parents' body language is. If you're noticing they're really uncomfortable, or let's say your dad or your mom goes, absolutely not. If you marry a black man, we're not going to your wedding. We're not going to support you. We're not paying for a damn thing and all of that, right? If that's their response, you're going to have to recognize that as the truth, because you're not going to be able to take them off their stance if that's how they feel towards you marrying a black man. So if that's the case, prepare yourself for that if you really want to go through with this. If it feels like when you're hearing, your parents say they're not going to support you if you marry a black man, they're not going to be at your wedding, they're not going to pay for anything or anything like that, and you're like, wow, I don't think I can follow through with this, then honestly, you might have to go back home and end your relationship with him. I know it sucks. I know in a perfect world, people wouldn't be racist. I know in a perfect world, everyone would accept each other for who they are, but we don't live in that world, okay? We don't. So let's deal with the real world that we live in, and let's figure out how we logistically make this work, right? So if you're not willing to sacrifice your relationship with them to marry a black man, even though your parents are racist, you're in the wrong place here, okay? Because that's going to take some strength on your part. You're also going to alienate yourself from your family. That's just the reality of the life, okay? So in a sense, you have to decide, because some people are saying, what would you do, Tomisin? What would you do? Girly girl, you have to decide for yourself what is most important to you. Would you rather be married to this guy, probably like in the future, and not have your family anymore, truthfully and honestly? Or would you rather be married to the person who you feel like marrying at the expense of your relationship with your family? I'm just going to be honest with you. You're not going to be able to have it both ways, because you're not going to convince racist parents to stop being racist. It don't work. It don't work like that. Okay. I know we all wish it could work like that. It don't work like that. So that's a decision that I think you should spend the time when you go to Europe and you see your family. I think that's a decision that you should come to your conclusion on. And I actually think coming to your conclusion on that decision first will be the best thing for you in terms of knowing what you're going to do for your future, right? Because if you come away from that conversation with them and you feel like there's no way that this will work, in terms of you're not willing to sacrifice your relationship with your parents, then the relationship's over anyways, okay? Right? You said you're living in LA. My happiness is my priority. I'm aware it's tough with my family, but I picked my side. Well, too bad for my family then. Honestly, my mom never loved me like that. And it's just my dad and my mom are racist. The other members are totally accepting. They won't support me. It is what it is. I'm prepared. Yes. Okay. I don't even want them in my wedding. So then my advice to you, first of all, if it's that bad, you don't even need to be bringing your boyfriend anyways, because what's meeting him gonna do for you guys? But I think that you should probably use this time where you go home to have a real logistics conversation about the idea of getting married to this guy. How old did you say that you were? You didn't mention it here, but I think would be better served having a logistics conversation. And honestly, even if you go there, you're 26. How old is the guy that you're dating? If you go there, he's 29. If you go there and you walk away, you have arguments with your parents and you walk away realizing they're not going to support you at all, but you want to continue going through this, then you have your answer. Your man doesn't need to meet them after that. You understand what I mean? And even if you go there, and let's say for whatever reason they change their mind and they are willing to accept this, now you have the green light for him to meet them. Because if they're not going to accept him anyways, then what's the point of him coming, right? You don't want him also to come feel alienated, right? Like he's going to go to a different country. He's going to meet your family. And then when he meets your family, he feels like alienated. He feels like they don't respect him. He feels like they don't want him around. Then the whole trip will just be miserable for both of you. Like, you know what I mean? So better for you to go have that real sit down conversation with your parents as an adult. Look, this is what I want for my life. If you guys don't want that, F you. I'm not saying you got to say F you, but like, if that's how it's going to be, then that's how it's going to be. And then at least you walk away from that visit, that conversation with clarity on like, look, okay, I've accepted my parents aren't going to be there. They're not going to support me in this. They're not going to financially support me or emotionally support me. So I know I'm making the decision that makes me happy, but I also know in the process of that, I'm going to lose them. And if that's okay with you, if you've accepted that as a reality, then go ahead and make that decision. Okay. Which is perfectly fine. Either decision you choose to make, I understand. We're all put through different pressures in life that cause us to make one decision or another, but you have to decide for yourself what the most important thing for you is. And I think right now the priority over your man meeting your family is figuring out where you're going to stand with your family if you choose to go through with being with this man. Okay. All right. That was a good question. I see why you wanted that answered. All right. All right, chat. That's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether it be in the free section, in the premium section, or a private question, you can ask those all to me by going into the link in the bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. For those of you who want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head on the top left corner of the screen. It's just my name, Tomisin_Atub. For those of you watching on Instagram, it's just in the bottom of the description there as well. For those of you who are watching on TikTok and you want to rewatch the show because you came late and you missed some points, you can go over to my YouTube channel. Just type in my name, Tomisin, on YouTube. And then once you find my YouTube channel, go into the live section. You'll be able to see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. and you'll get the context of the YouTube and the TikTok chat embedded in the video, so you won't miss any of the context of the show there, okay, in the chat. For those of you who, what was the other thing, are trying to catch me live again, I'm live every Monday and Thursday. So I'll be live again on Monday, but I'll also, of course, be posting all throughout the week on my YouTube and even my TikTok channel of different videos about love life and relationships. So you won't miss out that way. But make sure you are following me on YouTube. That's where all the videos come out first before anything. Okay. All right. Until we meet again next week on Monday, I'll bid you adieu. Hasta la vista, sayonara, arrivederci, adios, baoni, ciao, salam, bon voyage. And I'll see you again on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Someone said see you at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're funny. You're funny. You're trying to make fun of me because I'm late. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. Okay, chat. I'll see you on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. Okay.